Udah grafik.
Udah draft.
Iya.
Halo guys, selamat datang semuanya cuy. Let's go. Mari kita nongbar.
Removed as well does leave things up like the Ash, the Skarner, the Vi. We've only seen Way on Vi so far.
Lah hilang thumbnail ini gua. Heran dah sama YouTube tolol ini.
We didn't see it him on it again.
Ari, Knights Ari.
I don't think they would first pick it though, would they?
I mean,
YouTube ngebug, HOK ngebug, semua ngebug. Nggak ngerti lagi gua.
With a Smolder and Yone off the board as well as Orianna, obviously the mid lane pool and technically Aurora as well. The mid lane pool is pretty heavy.
Ahri diambil. Memakai apa Peker? Peker nggak mungkin main Yone cuy.
Udah di ban Yone-nya juga.
Apa mau mainin Yone? Aurora udah di ban juga. Dihabisin anjir midnya.
Paling Niko
Orianna juga di ban. Ya Niko paling ya.
Syndra masih open.
Oh iya, Syndra juga lagi rame ya. Enggak sih, gua nggak yakin dia main Syndra coy. Ayo keluarin Niko adik-adik itu cuy, hero adik-adik Peker. Ah, holy shit bro. Is that real bro? Seriusan abang mau main itu?
Langsung di lock, nggak pakai babi ibu.
Ih, abang Peker suka bercanda. Emang masih bisa mekaniknya itu? Masih gampang lah itu.
Tapi gue bingung udah ambil Silas. Ulti siapa yang bagus aja di musuh?
Iya ya. Sejauh ini belum kelihatan sih ya, paling si Skarner doang. Skarner ultinya yang mana? Yang megang orang ya?
Megang orang. Tapi kalau dia megang orang, bisa sih, cuman kalau megang orang dia nggak bisa mukul anjir.
Mungkin berulti Ari cuy biar bisa kabur.
Tanda kurang gitu.
Iya sih, pasti. Iwan masih punya kesempatan kah? Masih, dia baru kalah sekali cuy. Harus kalah 2 kali lagi dia baru gagal. Tapi kampret juga ya. Dia udah pernah lawan BLG belum sih?
Belum.
Yang waktu dia lawan tes waktu itu yang kalah. Ke bawah menang lawan PNG, habis itu lawannya BLG aja. BLG ini LPL nomor berapa nih?
Dia tuh kemarin 1.
Anjir. Malah ketemunya ini 1 aja. Kalau udah 2-1 berarti baru ini ya BO3 ya?
Pokoknya yang elimination atau yang buat naik itu
selama 31 bulan Maret PKB.
So far in the tournament, LPL teams have an abnormally high priority on Jin. It seems to be a pick that they're super comfortable with. They are good at leveraging that long range, and of course, when you have a Jax, when you have an Ahri who are willing to dive in, the Jin follow-up is something very powerful. Carry a please. I would, please. You won't?
Get baited by pigs.
No, I know. I'm saying please. I'm not saying it's real.
Why?
I'm saying, sir.
Sin bilang BLG apaan kur, biji lu gede.
Please just lock and pike.
Thank you, Betty. All right, well, this would be a mix-up. This is a classic combo, brainstormed, theory-crafted, scrimmed for years. Hasn't seen the international stage as much, but it is obviously the combination.
Bentar, jadinya itu Silas jungle ya? Enggak, ada Vi ya?
Enggak, mirip. Iya. Niko support. Dia bisa dikomboin sama Kalista soalnya.
Bentar, cuci tangan dulu coy, mau makan.
What I like about this, the comps, is that there's just a lot of comfort across the board. You've got Bin on Jax. Like, obviously he's known well for his Camille, but his Jax, like, is just as terrifying on the top side. And that's paired along Knight's Ahri, one of his all-time greatest champions, an unbelievable win rate on it. I think this year alone, he's only lost, like, 1 game.
Faker menang, Kuro botak.
courtesy of our friends at Game as
Nggak bisa, Vtuber gue nggak bisa botak. Vtuber yang bisa botak biasanya Vtuber yang kena sakit.
very much in favor of the win column.
And in contrast, Zeus, one of his best.
Halo Mr. Eka, terima kasih membership 31 bulan.
In contrast, that like it's hard to say for Faker specifically.
Sambil makan cuy, ayam rica-rica nih.
He has so many champions.
Ayam rica-rica ini. Ngakunya saus padang aja ternyata rica-rica, cok.
When he stole the Gnar,
and like
destroyed an entire region in a moment.
Jensen 1v1 matchup he had, like he's just, he's a good Silas player, and it's going to be a fun one. These solo lane matchups are going to be exciting. I'm hopeful we'll get standard lanes, but I'm not going to.
Gue disuruh restream core. Bukan disuruh sih, dikasih izin buat restream.
Neither team will be eliminated, but obviously both teams hungry for that 2-1 bracket, looking to get out of Swiss as quick as possible. Don't want to risk a single thing. Remember, it was last year T1 beat BLG to make it out to qualify for top 8 in the bracket stage of Worlds.
Anjir. Mid aja. Runnya pakai ini anjir.
Keras.
Iya, gas of undying.
Kalau lawannya melee, biasanya ngambil gas biar lebih tebal dikit.
In their first matchup, ultimately didn't quite work out. The Aurora disrupted it, but there's no Aurora this time. Should be able to find a few more effective engages.
Gue kira mau istirahat dulu, ntar stream di pertengahan. Jadi menarik juga sih.
Flash out for Keria.
Flash aja.
Flash. Anjir, tapi itu ngambil charm, cok.
Iya ya, dia ngambil charm anjing.
Demi ya.
Oke lah. Mungkin agak PR dikit aja. Awal nggak. Jadi nggak leading dia di midnya ya.
Iya. Oh, mau di.
We talked about the possibility of a lane swap. It looks like BLG is going to be the ones to initiate it, and T1 naturally ready as the split map has begun.
Makes a lot of sense in the context of T1's bot lane. Obviously, you really do not want to be against Kalista.
Kemarin gue liat ada Vtuber Indo cewek restream core ilegal kah? Ilegal itu berarti cuy. Yang punya akses cuman gua sama Yudi Incase cuy.
And it always involves cut the music, Faker. Doesn't matter what he's doing. He can play piano, he can sit on a throne, he could take your order at a fast food restaurant.
Cuman ya,
what keeps us going.
gue bukan bilang ilegal. Ya, kalimatnya sih ilegal cuy. Cuman ya sebenarnya
LCK teams a little bit more experienced.
Harusnya gue nggak bilang ini sih, tapi nggak apa-apa sih sebenarnya. Lu Nobar nggak bakal diinin juga sama Riot, apalagi lu view-nya kecil gitu. Goff aja dulu pernah nobarin dia.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense to me. Well, it doesn't really. It's more.
As an Ahri enthusiast, you hate it because you want to do damage.
Yeah. It's understandable in the context of.
Nah ya, unofficial.
It's very easy to generate the grass procs. You can just keep hitting your opponent. Gives you a bit of extra sustain.
Tapi ya tetap ada chance.
It's just that in the mid game.
Ada chance bakal diinin sama Riot. Cuman ya kayaknya Riot nggak bakal seitu banget juga deh.
This is the part of the lane swap that we all know and love because this is the skill part of the matchup.
Can you pull off the dive? Bin, level 2, level 3 now is great. Counter-Strike crucial to survive the dive. On here as well, I think the second you see the Poppy, if you don't know what abilities have been taken, you have to assume Steadfast Presence is there, and it really stops any potential of the dive.
Notice how respectful Bin is being as well. But definitely the winner of this situation, Zeus will be able to catch this last part of the
Bukan gue satu-satunya anime cuy, di Jepang juga ada yang dapat izin.
Stacked wave on the bot side. He's going to be more than happy to pick this one up.
Tendo Yuki kata Linda.
Crazy happening either side. The initiation of
Dari apa?
is now concluded as both laners will now look to return to
PSPO itu apa?
Course, pretty calm, all things considered. We talked about it in the previous game, but once the initial dives kind of fade away, might see the reset to standard lanes. Now the first few levels have been.
Bukan agensi yang sama Keson kan?
Both bot lanes have been able to get a little bit more experience. But remember, in the context of this year, BLG have certainly had T1's number. Last year, T1, well, they had all of the LPL locked down, but this year at MSI, of course, we saw across 2 best of 5s, BLG were able to come out in both of them, knocking T1 down.
Lu Nobar berapa match? Kayaknya semua deh. Soalnya 3 match doang hari ini. Match 1 udah lewat. Jadi 2 doang. BO1 lagi.
4. Yang sisa 3.
Hah?
Hari ini 4, sisa 3.
Oh iya, coba lihat dulu timnya coy.
Zenix bilang itu hero yang dari Shadow Air yang dipakai siapa?
all the way.
Hero dari Shadow L yang dipakai, Kalista.
Coming into this one, again, understandable that BLG are expecting.
Yang ketiga tuh.
Oh ya, PSG sama G2 WBG ya, nonton lah kali kita cuy.
They've become
Pengen kita lihat ke bantainya G2. Fans G2 viewer gue banyak cuy.
off the back of they'll leverage their prio, and then Wei is hovering, and just as I say it, the observers highlight it for us. They're pushing mid, pushing bot, and they're working now together. Wei sets his sights on the bot.
Apa alasan kalian mendukung G2 cuy? Kenapa banyak fans G2?
And they're all just kind of coordinating, providing
Konten.
a bit of a gank kit. And here it comes.
Wei coming in. On can go in as well and try to interrupt.
Karena ada Kesa kah brand ambassador-nya?
Able to shapeshifter out to safety. Crucial to get away from that gank, but well highlighted, Betty. Good use of the line pressure from BLG to fish, and you can see meanwhile
Istilahnya mah cuma gara-gara salah satu-satunya tim barat yang bisa ngelawan soalnya.
So effective in the early games, and sometimes we've seen some of their inconsistencies in the early games at times. One of the things that they were criticized for early on in summer, but
G2 itu barbar dan nggak tertebak gameplaynya. Kemarin barbar ya?
Lumayan.
nice route. On getting chunked out here in the 2v2. You know T1
Aduh, nggak bisa itu. Harus flash.
Flash out from Elk 2. Incredibly clutch from the T1 bottom lane to just instantly leverage their 2v2 advantage.
And this is the thing, we can't talk about individual talent without talking about the T1 members. This bot lane are typically very aggressive, and they find a successful 2 versus 2 to
Bentar,
get
dia mau nambah
that
nasi,
summer
cuy.
spell out from Elk.
And this is why the lane swap probably came out. You want to avoid this 2v2 at all costs. They thought the first 3 levels, if they just got level 3 without needing to fight, it might be a bit easier, and it certainly is, but still very much favoring T1 as they're still grabbing these plates. You've also got pressure on the top side from Zeus as he just continues to push these waves in against Bin. Owner grabbing the grubs. In the meantime, will only be able to grab 2, but T1 across the board getting a lot.
They do have a 1k gold lead now, just off the back of the lanes kind of returning to normal. Early objective advantage in favor of T1, just as you highlighted. Now, BLG set their sights on Faker.
Nice initial movement. Obviously, Charm does connect. Faker not going to try to extend the trade at all. Uncertain where On is. Good presence of mind, good awareness. If he commits anything there, very likely we'll have to burn Flash to escape. In the end, though, some gold has been picked up, so gold lead leveraging to about 600, really balancing out. Grubs will feel good on the next spawn, though. T1, they can get 2. We'll be able to grab the 4 grub buff with pressure Zeus is putting down right now. Will make it that much easier for him to take some of these early plates.
Keep my eyes on the minimap just to see what potential options Wei once again sets his sights on the bot side.
Lebih seru Nobar LOL apa Wild Rip?
But he's sitting pretty with his farm.
Sama aja sih kayaknya, tapi kayaknya lebih.
I like how Wei consistently plays around the fact that like, oh, his bot lane has
LoL PC seru karena hero lebih variatif coy. Sedikit lebih variatif. Kalau Wild Rift itu aja anjir. Cuman LoL PC ini ya ini nih 15 menit nggak ngapa-ngapain.
Owner on the way down. On with a knockback into the wall, but there's no immediate fall. If they just now spot Owner, Knight is going to get the first move. This could be disastrous. Perfect CC Larry. Owner can't even push the ult. He barely manages to get it all the time. Faker has stolen away the ultimate. What else can he get with the dashes? Can he chase down Knight? One more now coming through. Has stolen the ult, now using it. Wants to chase, way ready to go over the wall.
Dan sampai pada nggak bisa nangkep Jinnya lagi.
It's perfect. The pop on the Q2 coming through. Faker gets another dash.
Gila.
Should be fine to escape. Bin coming in. He should go down. Knight gets the kill in return.
Dikit lagi.
Faker doesn't quite have the
Masih bisa tuh Faker mah.
but it ends up being a 2 for 2
Benar cuy, ulti Ari cuy.
with the quicker collapse.
Nah itu tuh Ari kalau kepake grass mati di situ tuh.
Damage to be able to convert the kill. The dragon stays alive, and as Owner makes his way back out onto the map, he's already pinging the objective.
And great CC, frankly, from the side of BLG to recognize they had the
Kayak tangan Packer lagi ceat cuy.
Could have been a massive threat.
Pakai painkiller kayaknya nih.
Knight vulnerable. They weren't able to spot him out first.
Gila itu mid dua-duanya langsung gak ada yang beli sepatu, langsung jadi aja.
On the objective, they're spotted.
Wild Rip main beli sepatu.
A lot of pressure mid, currently denying some creeps away
Muhammad
from Faker, so
Fadilah
there is a
bilang
gold
kapan
price that
mabar
T1 are
sama
paying
Sirpai.
to take this objective.
Kapan-kapan cuy.
Respect on the flank, but BLG clearly willing to give it up, and well played to T1, coming ahead in objectives across the board.
While all that was happening, we'll get to that in a second, but notice here, it's Owner that's isolated because Knight gets the rotation first, connects the charm, they have the damage, Owner does what he can to get what damage down he can, But then the fight becomes split as Wei has to flash away to avoid the CC from T1's bot lane. On is just kind of awkward in this position, left isolated as the Jin Faker finds himself in 2 versus 1, gets that initial pick, gets the reset on the Ariel.
Nggak bisa habis ini healnya si Ahri nih.
And then here he thinks, oh, maybe I have the damage if
pasif Ahri kan nge-heal juga soalnya.
to shut Faker down.
Terus tadi dia sempat nge-grasp juga.
And the thing I wanted to highlight before we went into the replay was Bin actually moved
Terus jangan bangga Pekar cuy, dapat satu cuy.
to push that wave underneath the tower because Zeus had set up a bit of a mini freeze. Then though, as the freeze was unbroken, Zeus was forced to push out that wave top and Bin could catch all of it. So you look at that CS discrepancy
Itu Nardi anjir.
the top lane, but Bin actually fixed it by being able to get this big wave in mid, move up to top, then catch that wave as well, and ultimately kind of equalizing what was a bit of a deficit at the start.
Important to put him in that beneficial position.
Itu champion apa yang hit terus ngedash? Itu dia nyuri ulti Ahri itu.
Just a reminder why our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz is the mid lane. Faker and Knight both in a position to make so many plays for their teams. They're legends in any draft, but in the context of this draft, 2 huge catalysts to find kills, to set up plays on the map. And right now, BLG using Knight. They gain a bit of control
Banyak, cek di kurohiko.id.
Top wave needs answering. They don't quite know where Zeus is, so they don't feel confident to initially force the objective as T1 showing up in force, ready to fight for this.
Ideally, Zeus wants to catch this ball
Gak
wave.
jelas banget beli ayam isinya leher-leher semua anjing.
So it's BLG that have purchased on the objective.
Harusnya daging semuanya.
I'm expecting a big fight.
Bin first move is big. Zeus does have TP and he has mini Gnar stacked. Are they willing to commit Zeus's TP?
Looks like they don't want to. Instead,
cuci tangan dulu cuy.
We'll concede the grubs. We'll give Zeus first access onto the tower. Bin was able to catch that wave in mid lane, but ultimately just a lot of time spent wandering around the map. But ultimately, it did pay off for BLG. But Zeus getting some good work done on this bot tower.
Definitely. Unlikely he'll be able to grab that last plate, at least on this wave, as Faker and Owner trying to defend on. Well placed, well positioned. Ulti from Skarner is about to be traded here. It looks like his T1 are being caught out by the curtain call. Lockup coming in from Owner, but he might just have to give us that safety. Where's the last bullet going to go? One more shot from Elk will not finish the job. Quick kill pickup underway from T1 on the top side.
In the 3v3, it's T1 that come out ahead once more on not level 6, meaning he can't remove one of those T1 members from the equation. BLG don't have the damage. And it means the T1 find themselves another kill. Elk with the push, has the 4th shot, looking to get that tower plate, will secure it. As resets start to come through. Meanwhile, Gumayushi, sitting in mid, takes the mid wave, actually rotates now down towards bots to try and help secure that tower. They're gonna secure it. Nice map movements there coming out from the T1 AD carry. It's Elk spending a lot of time to push in this wave. Yeah. Resetting makes a lot of sense.
And a bit frustrating, right? Because you just get that 4-grub buff. You would love to be able to get some pressure down on top side. But Faker and the rest of T1 in the area means the play kind of fizzles. Elk doesn't have any mana or any biscuits, so this is a little bit
This is crucial, because notice Zeus, the reason why this is crucial is Faker still has TP available to him, but notice Zeus already back out onto the map. He's been able to go back to base, spend that money. He can now go top, catch that wave. Kumayushi continues to push in mid. He can now reset, get his itemization, and now Jin's recall is delayed. So the rest of BLG are already back out on the map, while Elk needs to commit that reset.
And this means they're in a position to contest vision, to get pressure top, to get pressure mid, and start to set up for that hit.
Kelar semua cuy, makan udah. Saatnya menikmati kekalahan T1.
On hovering, maybe hoping to catch Zeus out if he overcommits here. Malignus completed for Knight.
Sejauh ini sih, tapi T1 mainnya rapi banget.
Blunder ini.
Item, he should be all right. Way looking to make the dive happen. Owner here as well. Bounce in from Zeus, trying to get away from the Skarner, knowing that CC is lethal. Impale is there, but the knockback is close. They push him away, but Zeus is still holding on. It's a 3v1, and Zeus is happy to take it. The power of Gnar keeping him standing. Beautiful from T1, and now here comes...
Oh, anjir.
It looks like Faker. They're uncertain the charm going to hit. Now they realize...
Takut dia ada Pekar coy. Ternyata Nico doang. Statnya di copy juga nggak sih kalau kita berubah gitu nanti?
Enggak. Cuman itu appearance doang.
Because if that was Faker, people start dying, for sure. Keria does not have the engage range.
Oh, okay. So ultimately, nothing comes off the back of that. BLG, they tried to set up a dive onto Zeus. I love the idea with Knight there right behind them.
Belum,
They would have enough damage, but the arrival of Ona really kind of ruined the play.
Belum nikah kan Packer tadi?
Belum.
He was able to make a mega play to buy enough time to force BLG to then disengage.
And when you burn
Lagian
those
juga-
resources, you don't have enough left to take the fight as Faker gets aggressive.
Gue yakin
Masih pro
juga
play makanya nggak akan nikah dia anjir.
Here to make this happen.
Nunggu
Iya.
pensiun.
Stolen away. T1, this is both. They already got one objective. They want
dan gue yakin juga nggak diboleh nikah
T1
karena menikah itu menghilangkan fans lu cuy.
has won them so much. Bin is just now getting that wave into topside, and Zeus here for the play and right
Kayak
back to
idol.
defend. Now Faker TPing as well. They're nervous. They don't want to risk the dive. I think maybe a bit over eager from the
Oh.
side of T1. But still, they get the Drake, they get the Herald, they get the kills on topside or the play on topside. Beautiful stuff.
So T1 walk away with the second dragon of the game. The bot wave left completely unattended because once the TP had come through top, Faker wanting to
Project
get
banyak yang
home
make.
for his top laner, match the TP
Karena bagus sih.
and was ready to fight, ready to skirmish, had that Poppy ultimate stolen away to turn it
Cuman
into
Jacksnya di counter sama ini
Now though,
sama
because those TPs were invested from the mid
Eh,
lane,
Poppy ya satu tim ya?
well, we've got to catch this wave
Iya,
now. So both
itu
of them
Poppy
stay in the
support.
top side of the map. Knight does have a bit of an experience lead, I think largely because Faker has been moving a lot.
Blind pick Jack soalnya lumayan aman.
Zeus now makes his way towards bot lane. Bin with
Yang
the
counter
TP
parah
advantage.
kan Poppy dah, cuman late game mah masih bisa
For
dihituin.
them, for BLG, I should say, to find any real advantage with.
No, 4 minutes on both the Baron and the Cloud Drake. T1 obviously 2 Drakes thus far. BLG really not able to leverage the grub buff they secured earlier on. Won't matter
usia
too
udah
much.
matang, udah jadi god bro, masih memilih lanjut LoL.
First items completed.
Karena menurut dia performa dia masih bisa menjadi pro player dan dia masih bisa mendapatkan uang. Nanti dia tinggal pensiun doang cuy. Pensiun nggak mau apain lagi deh.
T1 do have
Financial freedom.
and 2 Drakes. It's nothing insurmountable as Faker.
Jadi konten kreator,
Hale going in,
bikin
well
konten
timed opposition.
mukbang.
Did you not want to give him the chance to steal away
Kayak
Knight's ult?
PewDiePie.
Not sure about the individual cooldown. Taking his time on this one. Does he have the
Anjir miss semua cok. Oke, dapet.
down?
Sidik
Take it out of the
Wadil
equation there.
Amin
Great
bilang
pick
itu
from
silas
BLG.
nyuri
Nicely
skill
done
GK
by
ada
Knights and
cooldownnya kah sebelum
They were waiting for that
dikeluarin?
flash to come through from Faker. Only then did Knight actually.
Itu silas
complete the
nggak ada,
ultimate.
langsung
They were
bisa
cautious
dipakai
of
kan
the
dia?
fact Faker could
Kalau
heal
skill yang dicuri ya?
but he's gotta get in range.
Bisa.
It was that they played around very well.
On knockback, using the clone to try to walk away here. Wait a bit more time. Aftershock already propped. That's one squishy Poppy now. Guma there, quick. To pick
Cabut, aduh, maju cok. Ah mati lu mah cok. Enggak.
Oke, hidup.
Oh nice
Wah,
ulti ya.
counter attack kah?
Ya elah.
Gak kena.
Enggak ada kena satupun ulti lu bangke.
Force shot will not connect. BLG
Masih menang sih tapi jadinya.
My goodness, BLG are locked in right now. The response from Bin leveraging his TP advantage to be able to find that flank and come in from behind. T1 do find that initial pick, but they get the response kill onto Gumayushi. The kills are equalized, but in terms of gold, T1 still find themselves with a lead.
And there's a reason the Bin Jax is scary. Yeah, he was put down early on. They might have had to sacrifice an objective to get him to an even state in this game, but this is a terrifying pick in his hands. We take a look back at this play, you can see the impact that he has.
So again, this play starts with, remember, the top lane already died. We turn our attention onto On, who then gets collapsed. Level 6 doesn't get a chance to use his ultimate, gets chain CC'd. The ultimate comes through from Carrier.
Come on.
And they turn their attention onto Elk. It's at this point where they've overcommitted, but they
Masih
don't
maju loh
recognize
Jennya cok,
the
jadi ada
TP's
Vi
already
di
come
kiri
through.
tadi.
They're trying to set up this tower dive, but Carrier is very low HP. Gumayushi has to ult him, and then
Mikirnya aman kali teman-temannya
because he
deket.
knows that the counter strike is there from Bin, meaning that he now has nowhere left to go. Nice collapse coming through from BLG to equalize the kill score.
In a difficult situation, I like the patience
apa tuh
of T1
sponsornya?
initially waiting out the Aftershock, waiting out the Celestial opposition to make sure they can burst down On, but overcommitting a bit in terms of resources. And
Satu
BLG
map
starting
win
to
ini cuy,
tie
BO1.
up the gold lead. Again, in League of Legends gold,
BLG Cina kan,
misleading.
iya.
It's more about the item completions.
Cina nomor 1 melawan Korea nomor 4.
Similar story for Guma.
Apakah nomor 4 ini membawa sial ke Korea atau membawa sial ke Cina cuy?
Across the board really on key members other than Zeus and Knight in a position where he can really take over a fight given that he has access
Di Korea,
to the flash.
akan 4
Maybe
bawa
gets
sial
time
juga
right
kah?
now. He does steal the Oreo ultimate.
Kayaknya enggak Korea mah.
Able to get anything so far.
Itu kepercayaan Cina. So.
Goes out the wave, gets level 12. He's about a half a level behind Knight, just because of that kill that Knight was able to find on the top side. Dragon spawning in 40 seconds. Faker wants to get his reset off. Knight should be able to push one more wave, and then he can either choose to base, maybe complete the Leandries, or make his way down. That's actually forcing Faker to stick around as Zeus finally catches that bot wave. Bin back out onto the map. Actually already grabbed himself the arm guard. Something that maybe T1 won't be expecting in the fight.
Recall now from Knight.
Ini Swiss stats ini dari game mana sih? Apa Riot yang bikin?
Nggak tahu. Katanya CS juga Swiss stage.
Knight wants one more wave. That might be enough to get in the Leandries, but how much time is it going to cost them? He secures it. Fake
Di Asia Timur angka 4 tuh bawa sial katanya. Itu kan sebenarnya kepercayaan Cina cuy.
Faker gives him a bit more time to stack it up, but
Karena keempat itu dibacanya itu sin.
quite easily. Playing this one out a little bit slower. Jack's ulti stolen for a bit of extra resources, a bit extra resistances. Elf waiting off to the side.
Intinya angka 4 tuh sama kayak itu tulisan mati. Makanya angka 4 nggak dipakai.
Di Jepang sama Cina sama soalnya sama-sama C.
Rage already stacked. Faker off, isolated.
The problem is, Knight does get the Leandries, but think about how much time he spent getting it. Because he stayed to that extra wave on top, he wasn't able to get the reset off, he wasn't able to replenish his HP or his mana, so once he then commits the TP bot lane to match the
Swiss stats itu dari Swiss score.
he's now forced to reset, allowing T1 to guarantee themselves numbers advantage, especially given that Zeus was just allowed to back and had the TP available. They wisely concede the dragon. But I guess you could argue that, like, a bit of a miss.
Udah Dragon Soul aja.
You understand the logic? I only need one more wave for my item. If I get this item, I'm going to be really strong. But then that play happens on the bot side of the map, and then it's just this cascading series of events, allowing T1 to put themselves on soul point.
It's a difficult position to be in. Every choice comes with a cost, and ultimately that one is going to cost them the Drake, right? Because Faker's TP does double value. It ensures they have bot lane prio. It ensures that they get the Drake. And now T1 are in soul point position. Knight has that second item. Ulti about to come off cooldown, still has the flash, but there's not a lot to fight for right now. Neither side going to be quick to start this Baron.
Di Korea sebelum ada Hangul pakai aksara Cina. Mungkin masih melekat juga tuh mungkin. Kan emang bertiga itu mirip-mirip lah. Baju juga agak-agak. Bangunannya juga.
They concede it. This mid tower is getting very low. 4 members strong in the mid lane. They should be able to secure this.
T1 holding on as best they can. Okay, wave clear, but really just not enough to stop the pressure coming in here from the side of BLG. The threat of Faker on side.
Jin kepake di Worlds kenapa? Karena ada lain pada kena nerf cuy. Mampus anjing. Masih ada flash. Woi. Skill 1 gitu, Bang.
Keren gitu.
Itu dikasih efek 3D keren tuh tadi tuh. Terus kasih suara ini cuy. Yang di TikTok suara Jojo itu cuy.
I mean, you already saw how well he was doing in the 1v1 matchup, but the Jack's reaching a point where the Nah just can't deal with him anymore, and he's going to continue to get to the side lane.
And you got to respect the aggressive use of Seekers. So often just that defensive tool for team fights. Uses it to get to solo. Will get him that much closer if he does want to finish the hourglass. To have repeated access to that stasis. So much this game feels like it's going to come down to the team fight. So any edge you can find on a side lane, man advantage, kills, gold to get those item completions through is going to matter.
The problem for T1 now is they can't cross map. Bin is able to secure this bot tower completely uncontested, and notice as T1 is shifting their control to the top side of the map, BLG is there to match. They don't need to cross map or anything. They can actually just sit there and say, T1, try and take this tower in front of us. I dare you to, because if you do, Bin is just going to continue to push in bot. Obviously, he needs to get his reset off, does have gold to spend, but BLG now with a much firmer foot in this game. They've finally been able to equalize the gold.
We're going to need to see how well T1 can set up for objectives and find fights. Bin completing the hourglass is big. Again, another access to stasis. We saw in the previous game, Aurora disrupted what T1 could do. It stopped them from leveraging so many of their team fighting strengths. There's no Aurora this time
around.
BLG getting stronger and stronger. They absorbed that initial blow. You saw it in mid-lane. Oak is left standing.
Kemarin di mana gitu gue liat di meme. Golnya mirip semua 4-4-4-4-4 anjir. Gak tahu entah editan tuh bang.
Danur bilang bedanya Swiss stage sama group stage apa kur?
Kalau Swiss stage ini tuh yang menang lawan yang menang, yang kalah lawan yang kalah cuy. Turun gak sih ke dinding coy?
Anjir.
Ditarik gitu.
Iya, pas kena ulti juga jadi ikutan aja. Tuh, kan nggak guna anjir fakernya ngulti Iskandar bengong udahnya.
Extended fight, it's BLG taking control. Carrier ready to disengage if they need it. Knight finding the angle. BLG with a beautiful play.
BLG set their sights on the Baron, a massive pickup onto both solo laners as BLG is quicker to collapse. They keep their pressure on the mid wave. The TP comes through from Bin. They've set their sights on the Baron.
Pressure on Owner. Hell, pressure on Guma. He steals enough. Will they be able to stop?
Play itu tim mana cuy? Tim Brazil kah?
Amerika.
They don't have the damage to win a fight. The most they can hope for is a steal. But it's so difficult with On. It's so difficult with the pick tools that BLG can bring to bear.
Ini kalau kecuali owner sih.
T1 are here, maybe just hoping for exit kills. Respawn from Zayas, he does have the TP. He will use it. 5k, getting lower.
Zoning nggak sih? Zoning nggak sih? Nah, itu dia.
Ulti, 15-second cooldown. Looking to lock up Elk. Where's the follow-up gonna go? Carrier trying to dissuade. Guma knocked back to the wall. The flash forward, gonna try to finish off.
Aduh, kalah dong. Alah.
Iya, kalah.
Popping off in the clutch moment, but Ben
Oh,
ready
Jax
to
masih cuy. Oh, nice
Bin.
Jax.
Oh,
counter-strike is there, but it's Ben.
kayak itu nggak kuat.
Tetap mati sih, tapi kayaknya mereka juga nggak bisa ini deh.
Enough.
Oh, bisa kah? Oh, bisa ya.
Oh,
Able to turn the fight
kendaranya kecil lagi lumayan sih dari.
target selection from Ona to set up for the team.
Ketahuan kah barusan aja?
Wei has an angle to steal.
Clone will spot him.
Wih,
5k, is he willing to give his life? It'll put them behind on the soul. He can't afford to die here. Zayus now chasing. Baron gonna fall. Carrier getting lower.
Curi lah bang. Aduh, montek bang.
Oh, T1 securing the first Baron of the game, cementing the lead. Soul point as well. If BLG cannot take this Drake, they're going to be in dire straits.
But look at the target
Skor
selection.
belum ada
You
cuy,
can see
0-0.
how T1 is kind of funneled into the blue buff area of BLG's jungle, but that then gives them avenue onto Knight.
Anjir.
Dapet anjir jinnya.
The ultimate available.
Iya.
Tuh, kena sisi lagi tuh. Nggak gerak anjir.
Lock them down alongside Ona. And then with the backline gone, it's really all up to Bin to be able to clean up the fight. He does what he can, but at this point they're at a numbers disadvantage. And while he
Bin
does
juga
take
itu
down
kalau misalnya
Ona,
nggak ke sisi kayak begitu mah masih bisa mati satu lagi tuh.
And this was all while Faker wasn't even there. Excellent team fight from T1, gets them the Baron, and just like that, they flip the game once more.
And you can see frustration on the face of Elk, right? In the Jin, when you're Jin in that situation, it's so hard to do anything. You need space to work. You need space in the team fights. T1 now setting up for Soul Point.
Dukung siapa Kur? BLG lah.
T1 interested, even if they don't start the objective, the more of the
Gue
Baron
hater
buff they are
speaker
burning.
cuy.
But it looks like it might just be the flip.
Remember, you've
Carry
got
off
the
on the
Kecuali 600 view kita dukung Packer cuy.
Come on, will be big, trying to zone out. Gets the jungler out of the picture. They instantly
Goodbye bang.
junglernya hilangnya mati dong itu.
Masa anjir dikit lagi.
Oke. Mending tapi yang belakang menang tuh empatan.
Satu kali peluru lagi Jin. Ini sebelah kiri Jin. Hah? Replay nggak sih? Jinnya nafsu bet cuy.
Gak ada, kayaknya gak ada vision deh yang pas itu, gak tau dah. Buset, masih dikejar.
The soul is denied from T1, but it's a massive team fight win once more. These team fights are absolutely crazy. They're an absolute nail biter.
Coba kita lihat BLG EJK-nya cuy.
Iya, kayaknya gak ada vision tuh, itu kan di bawah busnya vision merah.
Nah dapet kan.
On the other side of the fight, I should say, Bin gets locked down. He, just like Faker, doesn't really get an opportunity to impact the fight.
Nah ini loh, ada yang tipis Jin.
Enggak, itu gak ada yang masuk bus anjir. Itu gak ada yang masuk bus, jadi gak bisa di-hit.
Oh hilang di bus dia tadi.
Itu gak ada vision di busnya.
Oh.
I think Wei even messed up going through the wall at the very end there.
And frustrating, such a close fight overall. Almost enough damage to kill Baker before he could get that poppy ult, that extra burst. And you can see Knight, he's so damn powerful in those extended plays. But eventually he just runs out of resources. You only have so many dashes if you're not going to be able to find the kill.
I mean, he needs his dive
Udah beda 5.000 nih.
with him, and Bin was just shut out. He tried to make the TP flank happen, but Zeus would not give him the space. Wow, crazy game. I really think a lot of credit needs to be given to owner this game. His
Oh, itu
target
ELK ya,
selection
bukan
has been
EJK ya?
on point in these fights. 2-1-8 scoreline. He's been involved in 10 of the team's 12 kills.
And you can see
Soalnya
how
di bawahnya tuh
all
kayak ada
these fights
bercabang
are.
sedikit aja.
I feel like if BLG just had a little bit more upfront burst damage, Wei playing team fights well, locking up Guma for moments, consistently forcing his cleanse out early. They have so much CC, but again, the damage not quite enough. So much sustain coming in from the Callista, now armor as well.
Owner on track to securing the GA. Oh, he actually just
Duh,
got it.
goldnya cuy udah mengarah ke T1.
Faker's now got Cosmic. It's gonna be
Sejak Baron tadi.
away from him.
But it's really important to understand T1 is the LCK 4th seed, and they're that for a reason, right? For them to get a win here, even though it's just a best of one, in the context of the World Championship, when BLG are considered tournament favorites alongside that of
Mosa
Genji
BFG bilang
HLE, for
kepanjangan
them to get a
BLG
win here
apa,
would
Gur?
be massive in
Beleguk.
terms of upsets.
I mean, to be in the 1-2 bracket for either of these organizations, whether it's current expectations or all-time expectations,
Mouse
it
Bluetooth
would have been
Jir.
unthinkable
Bukan
coming
mouse
into this
Bluetooth
tournament.
itu
It was
anjing, masa
truly
voice
disastrous
Bluetooth
draw
bangsa.
for T1.
Ini nggak mungkin orang pro player main pakai mouse Bluetooth ya.
Pokoknya mouse itu mouse ini wireless tapi yang 5 GHz apa 2,4 GHz gitu. Bluetooth mah delay anjing.
But normally it's that man in the mid lane who is struggling to have impact in this game as Knight continues to flourish on his Ahri, but the rest of his team is stepping up to help provide him the space to still be a threat in these fights.
Pandai bilang
Definitely.
G2
And
masih
again,
main.
really across the board, T1
Masih
doing
di
great
akhir
fights. Great
di
saves as well, who died in the
sekarang jam 8 ya.
The solo
Jam
bot play has been
10
kind
kalau
of
nggak salah.
but has now rebuilt that gold lead in a decent position.
Now BLG not out of this game just
At
yet.
all, no.
Bin now completed his third major item, going to have a lot more damage off the back of that Wit's End. He's going to be that much more of a threat on the side lane, but really I feel like this game is going to come down to the team fights.
Faker pernah berkata umur hanya sebuah angka. Itu emang kata-kata semua pro player yang udah tua cuy. Faker, yang main PB yang sniper yang jago itu siapa namanya? Jack apa ya, dia juga bilang gitu cuy. Semua cuy.
Luckily for him, he has the cleanse. But it might not be enough, given the sheer amount of CC, the potential fallout from Elk. We saw the bot side play, where BLG were able to set up fine picks, leverage the range
Next
they
Jack.
have with the Ahri dash in and charms, with the Jhin curtain call. But in the straight 5v5s, it's been T1 coming out on top. Maybe BLG can continue to find those picks. You highlighted it. Knight has to be the center of attention here with Death Cap completed. He needs
Dendi?
to be doing the damage.
Lah, emang
He needs to
Dendi
be setting up
pernah-
the plays. It's a big burden to put on a
Kayak jadi.
single player in a game, but he has the tools to do so.
We take a second. Obviously both teams have just been farming for the last few minutes, but 5 seconds the Dragon will be alive. It's Zeus that enters the river first, clearing out the control.
Game apa ini? Wah, ini. Ini asal mula MOBA tuh dari sini, Bing.
Walah belegut toh, pantesan kalah. T1 nih bos.
Iya, cuy.
I like what Bin's doing. Keep the pressure on bot lane. Keep that push in, give you a nice angle to potentially create a flank. Faker now joins the squad.
Steadfast presence down. Initial route on the way is big. And Bale not hitting anybody. Way forced to flash.
Wih.
Cepet banget hilangnya itu skandal.
Harusnya dikasih sound effect gitu, cuy. Tuh satu lagi. Ya, pakai stasis. Tunggu dulu. Satu lagi. Lama banget resurrectnya jadi masalah sama itu ya.
Itu G.
Bukan stasis ternyata.
BLG, it looked like that they were going to turn and fight. A great poppy ultimate came through from On.
Gua kira stasis
Once
tadi.
Bin TP'd in, he was committed to the fight. He had to go in.
Goes in, but no, owner
Oh,
secures it.
Mukidi
ini
bilang
sih
BLG
udah menang
artinya
kali
bola.
T1.
Baron as well.
I mean, there's no reason not to. T1 must feel so strong right now. Ari's just used the ultimate.
Faker pakai silas, cuy. Dendi itu mainnya nggak jago-jago banget, cuy. Karena pakai bug doang terkenalnya.
They'll just now see the health bar. Faker off on the side, looking to lock up Elk, forcing the flash.
Oh anjir.
Colius Larius bilang kapan terakhir
Cepet
kali T1 champion
banget.
di Worlds.
Ya elah, coy, rungkat dong.
Job alongside Zeus T1.
Dan Baron kedua ini.
Belum bisa.
Kameranya kemana tuh anjir?
BLG didn't see it coming. Faker came from one flank to then force the flash out from Elk.
Tuh,
The moment it was
T1,
gone,
T1,
Carrier
T1.
struck. The team fighting from T1 coming online today as they're now looking to break the base.
T1 at Worlds just continue.
Tahukah kalian Faker
Iya.
bukan nick pertama yang Faker pakai?
Team that seems to never disappoint.
Nickname pertama Faker tuh Blue Rim, cuy.
To topple.
Blue Rim katanya.
Champion is not done yet. BLG have an
Can
angle
they
for a fight.
end?
On.
Ternyata anjir, gue kira bakal Baron
Nggak
dulu.
tahu gue juga.
Woi, woi.
Waduh, wah
Tapi-
nge-throw gak tuh.
Enggak sih, tetap enggak bisa sih.
It's there.
Oh
Nggak
iya,
ketahan juga anjing.
masih nggak ada.
Kalau masuk ke base baru tuh tadi. Ah, ente coy.
Anjir. Oh,
Ya, T1 menang cuy.
ulti skarnernya bagus, cuman gak ada yang keagro turret ya.
Iya. Jadi nggak ngapa-ngapain.
Gila.
Incredible.
And that's just the best of one. All right, AD, we had a great time with it.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
What I have to say is that I wish this was a series.
BLG 1-2, siapa ntar yang ketemu ya?
If BLG can now make it through the lower bracket, they're a 1-2 team. T1 at Worlds is just a different. It's a different beast entirely. It's not the same as what's in the LCK.
Oh my god. Even just saying that one more time, just the fact that BLG are 1-2.
Siapapun nanti 1-2 ketemu BLG sih sesuai banget ya BO3.
And we've talked about what had been going wrong for T1 in the first games that they had in BLG as well, and I feel like while T1
Nih, Faker nih wawancara pasti nih.
BLG keep on making the same mistakes.
Yeah, the early game from T1 was so good. Even if you're just
Lope
looking at
Lope
and
bilang.
focusing at in the swap, specifically Zeus.
Bilang apa cuy?
2 plates top lane, shared 3 plates, but gets both plates, 2 plates solo bot lane, including
Kumayusi itu tapi
he is
yang di
rich as
interview.
hell based off of the
Oh, yeah.
assignments they gave him. And there was one time where like Jax was roaming up for grubs early. He was like, free plates for me. Kalista also pushed mid just to help him out. So it's like it was a team focus on getting gold on him.
And look at the acceleration once they did have the lead. There was that mild moment before there was a really crucial.
Anjir udah soul ternyata Dragonnya cok.
Iya, itu yang tadi itu udah so.
Nobar for me, as well as Guma's Kalista, were such standouts in this game.
Well, let's check out Guma's Kalista actually in the HyperX Reflex replay that we have because Raz, it came down to really small timing, turning the whole fight.
Yeah, because BLG is the team that made the winning
BLG sengaja kalah coy, mau bantai adik-adik di bawah.
To Baron, and T1 without Silas, without Faker, says that they can take the fight. And so they, specifically owner,
Untuk jadwal selanjutnya cek di deskripsi cuy ya. Next itu ada PSG lawan Fly. PSG juga NA.
PSG itu Taiwan.
Bebek sama kuda.
Oh iya benar juga.
Incredible. And we actually have Gumayoshi on stage for the Verizon
Region kita.
So let's hear what he has to say.
T1 gets another win, and I've got Gumayoshi here with me together with Ji-sun to talk about it. And I've got to ask Gumayoshi,
Coba lihat pakai anting apa sekarang translator aja.
T1 at Worlds was all about beating the LPL, and now you already took down their first seed. Will we see a similar story this year?
승리 정말 축하드립니다.
Oh nggak pakai hari ini cuy.
서서를 보면 LPL 팀을
Di hari ini pakai pakaian karyawan asisten gitu.
한번 LPL 1번 시드를
Tuh namanya Ji-sun.
Surya Dewa bilang yang lu dukung kalah mulu
저희
Jing.
지금 경기력이 꽤 괜찮다고 생각하고
Emang lo sengaja main di bawah coy.
다시 한번 최고가 될 준비가 되어 있는 것 같습니다.
I feel like our performance is pretty good. We are ready to become the best of the world one more time.
Now, when it came to your run also last year, a lot was about dictating the meta, especially from the bot lane. Do you feel like you have the same possibilities now, and are you ready?
Oh ya tadi dia nggak swap lane ya.
또 작년 우승할 때를 돌아보면 T1은 정말 메타를 개척해 나갔고
Tadi tuh hitungannya musuhnya yang swapin sih.
창의적으로 지배해 나갔습니다. 올해도 이런 가능성이
Makanya yang di bot turretnya kan jebol. Cepet banget.
되었을까요?
올해도 약간 바텀이 좀 가능성이 무궁무진한 메타인 것 같아서 저희 바텀이 워낙 챔프폭이 넓기 때문에 또 여러분들이 좋아할 만한 재밌는 카드들 많이 준비할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
This year's Worlds meta opens up so much space for the bot lane champion pool, and us, our bottom deal, has a champion ocean. So please stay tuned for our creativity.
We will. Now, when it comes to T1 as a whole, you are coming in as the 4th seed, and I know maybe this season wasn't exactly the way you would have imagined it. What are the things you feel as a team you should improve on top of the things you've already shown that you know very well, in order to make sure that you make it to the playoff round, the knockout round, sorry?
T1 사실은 이번 월즈는 4번 시드로 오기도 했고 서머 시즌 순탄하지는 않았습니다. 어느 점을 조금 더 개선해야 이번에도 노크아웃 스테이지까지 순탄하게 갈 수 있다고 보시나요?
일단은 썸머 끝나고 선발전 끝나고 저희끼리 좀 이야기하고 문제점 많이 개선해서 지금 월즈 Y는 상태는 좀 좋은 것 같고요. 그냥 집중력 잃지 않고 방심하지 않고 이대로 쭉 가면은 노가웃 스테이지는 갈 수 있다고 생각합니다.
After the summer season, after the regionals, we had a lot of communications and we talked about our issues. So I think we're right now on a very good stage. So I'm pretty confident as long as we can keep our focus and go with our role, I think we'll be able to easily make it to the knockout stage for sure.
Okay, wonderful. Interview 감사합니다. Thank you so much, Kumayushi and Jisun. And that is T1 with another victory.
Jisun. Tuh ada reckless tuh cuy.
T1 zoning him off. Baker goes in again anyway. Flash away from the charm. It's perfect. The pop on the Q2 coming through. Ben feeling more confident in the 1v1. Zayas has flash, likely to be forced here. Flash out from Zayas. How long in the leap strike should be able to finish the job? Goes golden. Curtain call now coming out in the extended fight. The Nor is there. And T1.
Reckless kasih main lah. Emang Reckless sih jago itu cuy, bukannya biasa aja ya?
Ya kalau dibandingin sama Ketia mah nggak mungkin.
Makanya nggak mungkin dimainin cuy. Impossible. Heavy is the crown. Aja video lama tuh, video hacker lama. Dia ada skin yang itu juga, ada skin Fright Neck juga.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Voice Opera GX cuy. Ayo kasih lihat dong fitur-fitur Opera GX. Bentar doang anjir.
crown, I'm on code. Run on air when I flow. You would swear that I flowed. Hottest hand in my zone. I'm going hard for my city, yeah. I put that thing on my back. Get it and gun it. I'm back on 100. I'm ready. I'm coming in for the attack. I'm on beast mode. God level, cheat code. New age, hero. Good verse, evil. I'm on the move. I'm on the
dipencet tombol iklan nama admin moderator cuy. Nyari duit dulu lah katanya. Fly with me. PSG tim kuat gak sih? Nah, Taiwan cuy. Tim kuat itu kan Cina sama Korea cuy.
Ya, kalau wildcard paling kuat ya
PSG ini.
Iya.
Wildcard maksudnya gimana?
Wildcard tuh yang non major region, yang bukan NA, EU, China sama Korea. Jadi kalau di sini PSG menang lawan Ena agak heran sebenarnya.
Emang wildcard ada siapa aja? Taiwan, Vietnam, Brazil.
Yang di main stage tuh Taiwan, Vietnam, Taiwan, Vietnam, Brazil. Tapi Brazil udah pulang kan soalnya, lupa.
Cuman satu dia slotnya.
Dia wildcard juga kan soalnya, itu rebutan dari yang play-in kemarin.
Rebutan PSG.
Yang bareng NA tier 3, Eropa tier 3 segala gitu. Yang sama Jepang.
Ini siapa ya? Tatapannya tuh bikin gue kesel anjing. Ini siapa guys? Showmaker ya?
You're in the one-on-one pool, so you have a lot of matches ahead of you possibly.
Pas yang trailer tadi.
Itu yang lu post Showmaker.
Yeah, so against DK, we got a little too excited, I think, on stage, and I also think they're a bit
Showmaker
have more depth, so they like, you know, the Silas later on is not something we're used to, and like Showmaker, he has like an X factor with Silas in a good game. But I still thought we had like a pretty good situation early on, but we kind of just, I don't know, we kind of just dropped the ball. There was too much happening and we couldn't really keep up, so they were just better, yeah.
Okay, Bwipo was commenting that he thought in-game he didn't think the synergy was completely on point, or the communication. Is that in line with what you think as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold for me. I think we made some mistakes. We could have helped each other more in the game and like communicated more clearly.
Kacamatanya kotor banget, Jir.
Either way could have probably fixed our problems if we were a bit more aware or if we communicated a bit more together, yeah.
Okay, talk to me about this matchup versus PSG, which is, you know, obviously a revenge matchup, one thing that you absolutely want to win for that side of things, but PSG really has been ramping up. They look different than they did in the play-ins. Can you talk to me about this matchup and how are you going to make sure that it goes different than the last time?
Skip.
Yeah, so it's obviously a super important match for us because we got a kind of a good draw in the PSG. And if we
Gak ada subtitlenya, Kor. Gak terlalu penting, dia lagi cerita masa-masa sekolahnya.
From where we stand, like they're pretty good. They're pretty standard team, and yeah, we obviously lost to them at MSI, but we're also a lot stronger now. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit nervous about the match. This is like super important game. And you know, we have some like strategies we're going to use, and yeah, just hoping it's going to work. So yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Nukeduck has a plan. Great also to hear him back in Europe.
True.
And I love that he says that it's a good draw versus PSG, because looking at the graphic that we have just here,
it's a tight one.
The West has something to settle against PSG.
He may say 7-7, but like, even if you're saying round one, this is the round that kicked us out. So like, this one's a little bit sadder.
Yeah.
And then of course this one's more recent, so this one burns more. We can probably cover for this one.
True, and they knocked Mad down in the bracket, but to me, like, there's one clear memory that needs to be different for FlyQuest in this PSG game, and it happened a little bit yesterday as well against a different team. I want to pull this up right now, and it's when Bwipo and Inspired get a little too carried away trying to make their own play. So this was an MSI memory. This was the second game as they're getting eliminated. Bwipo and Inspired on Renekton Viego.
Renekton apaan nih anjing?
Chasing this rumble for like 15 seconds.
Kayak project tapi kayak Inferno.
And then Maple ended up being a little bit too fed on the Ace-Hole. And then, in terms of over-forcing, this was their game against DK when Showmaker got fed on the Silas. They just
project tapi Chroma.
This dive onto Silas. He makes them dizzy. And this guy, this is not necessarily to flame Bwipo. he
Senyum nih, Bang.
goes for it. Right? But when he's able to play with the right amount of patience, and as he talked about when they won the LCS championship, be confident that like he's
Keringetan
enough,
anjir.
that just playing normally is enough, that's when I think they're at their best.
Exactly. We've seen it in the LCS when they're on the same page. They are the best
NZXT.
fighting team when they can make it happen. So they're going to go up against PSG. This is the revenge tour. Way back from MSI, they want to get it done.
And they're going to have a lot of things to prove, and they want to go and get that revenge against PSG here. Let's see what Flykers can do. Housecasters, back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Lore. I feel big stakes not just for FlyQuest, but I guess for all of the West, given that it's 7-7, as was so wonderfully highlighted.
So
PSG
West
are
ain't
scary.
doing too hot right
the West
now.
PSG are scary. Yeah, it's like LCK, LPL, and then
Paris.
PSG, LEC, and LCS. PCS as a whole maybe needs a bit more time, but this PSG lineup can never be underestimated. Something obviously the FlyQuest are very keenly aware of. And we'll have to see what their strategy is, what their approach is. PSG notoriously more by the book.
Coachnya kayak ini cuy. Kayak karakter yang di film Money Heist.
The crucial thing is, as Nuke Duck mentioned in the interview, is that FlyQuest is a different team to what they were at MSI, and the introduction of Quad has significantly changed the approach to the team, the flexibility that they have in the mid lane as well, and ultimately the draft will always begin with a single question: are you going to ban Yone, PSG? Because we know you play it.
I lived in a brief existence in that previous game. It was 30 minutes of bliss as that champion.
And it's crazy because, as we said, we love watching the champ, right? Super entertaining champion to watch.
It just kind of invalidates the laning phase sometimes when it's always able to come
To a
back.
degree. But anyway, we're going to be jumping into the draft. So, what will the priorities be? So far on the red side, we've seen Aurora be a consistent ban. Wouldn't be surprised to see RJ get that Rumble ban. We know how confident he is on the champion in particular. And what about the Sejuanis? Will they raise in priority at all?
Rumble di ban.
Champions like powered by Omen and HyperX. Betty, you hit the nail on the head. Not going to give Audrey the
Anjir bawa boneka dia coy.
Sometimes this is a portion of their gameplay that people criticize. They play a lot towards topside. Maybe it doesn't always make sense, but the Rumble certainly has been terrifying in the hands of Aja, a guy who insisted on playing in plans. We were initially skeptical, but it has been proven correct. He had the right read on the meta. This champion looking incredibly powerful overall as the Aurora is also going to hit the bench. Oriana,
that's telling.
Taken away.
Gua dukung PSG cuy, karena PSG dekat sama kita cuy negaranya. Ah malah muter anjir.
Firman Ardian bilang gak polling kah Kur?
Telat goblok.
There's the only alongside of it, which I'm imagining as Worlds continues, this is the trend that we'll continue to see on red side. But the Aurora
Lalu nggak ada server Discord Subbreaker kah? Ada itu yang di Kurohiko.id.
Maybe they don't have the flexibility of being able to play at both top and
it's interesting because it puts them in a difficult position where very often we see champions like Ashe or Sejuani, either a jungler or a prime AD, taken off the board, and they really can't do that. Instead, we're really seeing triple bans essentially for top lane.
Yeah, they've really targeted Aja in this draft, and they want to set up Whippo for success. Of course, he is.
Gak ada yang gue tahu satupun cuy nicknya cuy.
Immediately rises in priority as that blind pickable top laner, but perhaps Renekton, something that he dominated domestically on, and was something that in the LCS you had to respect or fear suffering on the top side of the map. Kalista going to be the final ban directed towards Marsu, who's honestly had a pretty solid tournament so far. His positioning in the fights has been pretty good. We'll see if he can maintain that performance today with so many first picks. Will it be something like the Vi? And Inspired has showcased a wealth of different champions throughout his career, both in EU and NA.
So it looks like, as Renekton is locked, okay, ban set up to try to ensure that Whippo is in a position where he can safely blind pick top. Kind of willing to more or less fall on the sword for the team there. Give a bit more time, give a bit more information, as they didn't have another high priority blind pick. What will PSG reveal? Because the thing you highlighted, obviously Inspired, incredibly deep champion pool, but a lot of times it's going to be kind of contingent on what the enemy is going to pick. See if he has any options in the Vi that feel good, or if we'll end up in kind of a more conventional jungle matchup with something like the Sejuani.
Wis, Azir nggak sih bang?
Maple is here.
Azir sih bang.
A long
Alah, lu banyak caper, lu caper, anjing main aja ahri lu tuh, mekanik lu kurang anjing, sosokan nge-shadow pick ini Azir sama Ahsan. Nggak ada yang teriak-teriak di penonton, nggak ada, tenang aja.
Usually it's the Vi to initiate, which then allows the Ahri to follow up, and because of the mobility of the two champions, they just synergize very effectively.
They do, and additionally, we saw in the previous game, right? Ahri very good on her own, but when she has that additional follow, it makes it so much easier if you do want to play more for picks in the mid game. But Inspired going to opt for the Ivern. What we're missing here, you have the melee bruiser, one of the two kinds of champions that really loves to have the Ivern. Now, the scaling hyper carry is usually the other missing component to make sure the Ivern can be effective.
Typically, I would expect a Syndra, but I don't like Syndra here.
Wih,
Yes, the other.
wih belum pernah di-pick cuy.
That is a scaling carry.
Tumben.
Expecting something more in the AD department, but certainly can bring.
Oh, Cassiopeia punya grounding nih, cocok untuk Ahri nih gitu.
Kind of work with an Ivern, but at the same
Wah, ada Vi juga nih, bisa nih, nggak bisa ngedes ini gitu.
safe. Miasma, great against dashes. Of course, its placement is crucial in that setup.
Mental di mana mereka cuy?
Champion that Quad is very comfortable on, something that he is well known for domestically, and I think just provides that scaling late game avenue. Very good in the front to back.
Genar 11 win 4 loss tadi, apa 6 loss gitu.
The storm of a combo like a Gnar, the Ahri, and the Vi, your turn is so good. The Ivern shielding, if it can keep people healthy, Cassio immediately turns, she has so much sustain, the potential to run targets down. Of course, absorbing that initial gauge is always tricky, and PSG going to do what they can to take away any more kind of safe backline options. Ashe and Cassio together would make it essentially unplayable for any melee champion that finds themselves dashless.
The AD carry bands coming through with the Ashe.
And those are the two champions that Masu's played so far, the Kalista and the Ashe. So we'll need to show us something new. Of course, for Betty in the bottom lane, the Kai'Sa has been the go-to, and it does work very well with what PSG have put together thus far.
Excuse me. I was thinking whether Varus is kind of where my gut is going.
Yeah,
but it depends. Like, I like Ezreal into Vi Ahri just because you have that extra bit of mobility. Don't think Ezreal plus Ivern is a great combo.
No, I mean, it is a little bit awkward. Obviously, we saw a little bit of lethality, Varus.
Zaya's a good ban. I like Zaya a lot. I think Zaya would have been actually a great pick for FlyQuest, so I like that ban coming through for PSG. When you have this much dive and backline threat, the ability to self-peel that Zaya's ultimate brings.
Kai'Sa ban for Betty. Obviously doesn't leave you with the strongest 2v2, and depending on the bond to box line. Instead, they're going to take away the recon. So seeing the potential of more or less the wombo comp or the picks that PSG.
Meta jungle AP sudah tidak laku ya? Masih. Brand,
Zaira masih.
Zira.
When you have a comp that wants picks and dive, you can do the Kai'Sa.
Tergantung tim.
Or the Jhin, who will stay an arm's length away. Jhin has not been a very successful champion.
Kalau midnya biasanya suka pakai yang apa sih, ade-adean kayak Yoniasu apa gitu kan, itu masih bagus di pick jungle yang AP. Tergantung mid lane-nya juga soalnya.
My only concern with Kai'Sa is that I don't think you have like the best dive buddies to work with. No. Right now, I feel like FlyQuest has drafted a little bit more of a front to back. With
the Kai'Sa was really good with the Ahri and the Vi. It's less
exactly,
appealing with the Ivern Renekton, although it can still work, of course.
Leona, I think, is fine. Rel can be a little trickier when there's so much mobility on the other side to set up that kind of wombo combo, especially if like you do connect the Rel ultimate and then Ahri can just kind of dash out of it. It, can be a little bit awkward. So having that hard CC makes sense, provides a little bit more, especially follow-up when paired up with the Ivern too. The Rel, though, on the side of PSG makes a lot of sense, just really facilitating the dive. My expectations were that the AD carries were going to be swapped in this draft, but either way, going to go with the Jhin, having a little bit more range on the side of PSG. The pick potential
Molder pick favorit dari tim LCK. Memang bagus sih.
Draft is going to be revolved around their mid-jungle duo.
Tapi ini smoldernya di mana nih? Baron.
Gak ada smolder.
Kok smolder anjir? Genar anjir, kok gue ngira smolder ya.
Ultimately though, decent amount of scaling on the side of the FlyQuest, a lot of the back off of this Cassio.
Ngantuk sih. Minum dulu, minum.
One of the main damage threats, obviously. The one thing that's really interesting, Baron, Sneaks, Ivan Cassio. Something you have to be really cautious about in the mid lane, just because of how quickly she can take that objective. She does need the blue, but once she's got it, That objective is easy pickings.
It's a good call because Kaisa also 2 items, right? Is going to shred the
Penasaran sih gue cuy, ada Cassiopeia, ada Ivern.
at Worlds. There are very few champions that give you that Baron shred capability. So haven't seen a lot of the cheeky 20-minute.
Lah, kok yang satu lagi nggak tosan 2 kali tadi?
Different as we get ready. Fly versus PSG.
The Yumi with a gun.
That's a Yumi with a gun.
Was quite surprised.
That was my favorite piece of art I've seen on broadcast so far. Well done, whoever you are in the audience. So, who wins?
It's Yumi on Jin. That's the idea,
No.
right?
Who wins? Yone or Yumi with a gun? That's the question on my mind. Just saying.
I don't want to ask.
We could fix the balance team. Give her a gun. We might have solved the Yone problem. That's all I'm saying. Regardless, we get in the game now. Of course, remember that while this is 1-1, this is not an elimination game for either team. There's still a lot of
Jitu main jam berapa? Abis ini.
were crushed
10.
when they had to leave MSI early as PSG kind of dismantled them. For those of you at home, well, I'm going to wax on about narrative. Remember to log into your Riot account on lawesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules.
Get that stuff.
Get the stuff. You're here anyway. Just get the stuff.
Also, you can check in on how your pick'ems are doing.
Yeah. Mine are not good.
If you're a Hextech enthusiast, you'll be happy.
If you're a Yone enthusiast in terms of highest presence, you will be happy.
Yeah, true. I think I picked Nocturne as my highest win rate, which, to be honest, was going pretty well.
That wasn't
until Yone started winning it.
That sounds like a meme, but it has worked out.
Yeah, it's 80%, or 75% win rate. It's like 3-1 right now, so it needs one more game, and if it wins it, then Nocturne's in a pretty
No
good
one's ever
spot.
getting Yone again, so you have a chance. You just need really good Nocturnes to play Nocturne.
Yeah, but I honestly need really bad Yones to play Yone. That's also...
All I'll say is like we might have had a few of those moments, and it might not have mattered. Regardless, keeping track of how the lane assignments are shaping up, you've got the duo on the top side of the map, so FlyQuest will be initiating the lane
Oh, ada
swap.
skill begituan juga, Ivan.
Ivern in the jungle, a lot of free time for Inspired once he finishes that initial clear, the first clear through. See if he wants to leverage that to go for a dive here. But Masu not too concerned about how much damage Betty's going to do to the tower, so they shouldn't drop too much.
Typically, we see a split map here, Dragos. But Inspired has started on his red. And I think he's...
Lama anjir ternyata ya.
that his clear speed will be fast enough.
Udah doain semua masih belum ini selesai.
The lane swap is already in an interesting spot because normally
Nah, baru kelar
the
satu.
split map means that the jungler is in a position to threaten the dive on bot lane. I mean, Ginger can still be there, but he's not going to have any camps to take, which means that as he's threatening that potential dive, he's going to be losing his whole top side.
Mau nonton Jitu tapi besok kuliah. Lah, tidur jam 12, jam 1 mah normal cuy.
He is only level 2, but he's been able to clear out his bot side.
Lagian kuliah juga libur sekali kan ada gratis cuti berapa kali cuy. Aman lah. Baru juga mulai kuliah.
Obviously yesterday was a bit of a disaster.
Bisa titip absen juga.
Fell behind even really before the lane started. Received no
Work cuman sekali setahun jir.
when you have this
Kuliah bisa ulang lagi tahun depan.
So a bit more support coming from Inspired this time and still can just move up.
Kalau misalnya kurang pun poinnya nanti bisa ngulang semester depan lagi.
And be on even pace with Junja despite the fact that he spent a bit of time on the bottom side just in case.
Remedy juga bisa cuy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of Ivan, right? Like, you spend so much time after your full clear just kind of wandering.
Kayaknya gue zaman kuliah dulu tidur jam 1 tetap bisa masuk jam 7 coy.
Side is not that big of a deal. Just seeing some of the challenges that are.
Kalau nggak sekalian begadang sampai pagi aja jadwal kuliah. Aman ya cuy.
Harass it. And there's very little that the Ahri can do to trade back. Meanwhile, Bwipo hitting level 4 on the bot side of the map. Definitely a unique iteration to the lane swap.
Kenapa ngomongnya nggak pernah ngerasain kuliah molor? Kuliah molor ini maksudnya gimana nih?
Like this sequence of events that happens, but just the introduction of Ivern to the situation really changes things up.
Also, one trend we've seen with Kaisa specifically is people are
Itu Renex sampai nggak bisa ngambil CS, kenapa? Lawannya 2 anjir, range lagi satunya cok. Mau ngapain dia?
Kita, ya ampun.
Ya rugi dong cok. Ya elah,
Ngapain lagi
fly.
I see the idea that he's trying to go for there. He ease in, cues the melee minions, ease back out again. But he gets chased.
Lihat tuh berapa lo kerugian tuh coy.
Stunned first, or if the Jin W hit him. But there are 3 pieces of CC in this lane. There's the Rel dismount, there's the Rel Q, and there's the Jin W. And all 3 of them hit him, which meant that he was CC'd long enough to allow them to get the kill. He even expends the flash.
The flash, I think, is ultimately the awkward portion. Of course, playing pretty aggressive to make sure that he can get the XP. Again, in the context of a lane swap, if you get minions, if you get money, that's okay. But as long as you're getting XP, you're generally in a fine state. Giving more money over to Betty is going to hurt, though. Early Swifties, faster on the rotation, getting to top faster now. And it looks like it's going to be the matched 2v2 here. Where Betty arguably stronger in terms of itemization, yes, less combat stats, but Swifties are so
guys.
for Jin in terms of trading.
What I will say is, even though Bwipo died, when you look at the actual top lane circumstances, Arja lost a lot of XP because he was being zoned away by the wave, whereas PSG's bot lane continued to push in, allowing Bwipo to soak up a lot of XP. On top of that, the top wave was pushing, meaning that Marso and Busio can catch that wave, and Bwipo was able to TP in on the stacked wave bot. So in terms of XP, like, look at how far ahead Bwipo is right now. 2 full levels. Arja is about to tick over to level 4, but Bwipo is going to be level 6.
And that's terrifying for the Gnar. Cans continue to harass in mini Gnar form. Once 6 comes through, dives get very easy, even without, honestly, inspired in the area. Aja going to have to play very conservatively, very respectfully for the next few levels. Betty caught out a bit there, but will sidestep the Void Seeker, crucially. Stop that Plasma proc. Right now, very good pace early on for FlyQuest. The gold is close, but you can obviously see that some of the lead that FlyQuest do have in individual lanes is coming from Quad, keeping that pressure up in the mid lane. Does recall and get a tier.
Udah lupa gue antepnya Nugent cuy. Mungkin bagusnya Nugent kali ya.
Questionable early death from Bwipo.
Yang enggak. Gue sih lebih nge-hype yang tahun ini.
First blood went over to Rel.
Once you play, God, gitu ya.
Sitting right now, inspired with his bot lane. Gonna start this objective. Cassio's underneath the tower for the time being. Nice setup of the brush wall to create this fog of war.
Good use of the Ivern utility. Mid lane was in an even state. Top lane now even, but they'll just be a little bit too late to the objective. Response coming in from Junja now, but he's a little bit late on starting the objective here, so Fly will have a bit of an advantage in terms of map pressure.
Apologies talking over you there, Drake. I just noticed that Cassio actually has half a level on Maple as well. We didn't get to see what happened in the mid lane matchup, but Quad must have had like a nice trade or done something to force Maple back, so they actually lost a wave. And now look, he's actually 2 waves up in terms of CS, and he's half a level. So
oh ya, lupa gue ganti judulnya ya.
Won very well in the early laning phase.
And kind of as expected for Cassio, right? Notorious for, especially level 2 onward. She's willing to burn through her entire mana pool, and if you stick around for that, you're going to die. So Maple, while he has really good setup when Woody is here, when Junja is here, and the isolated 1v1, it is a tricky matchup to play out.
Yeah, I mean, Cassio is that champion that only Cassio players can really play.
Whoa.
But he's under the tower. It's a little bit awkward here. Charm now. Woody immediately going to pop. Ignite taking on Maple. It does not do too much. Twin Fang there. Quad threatening enough to stop them from killing his support at the very least.
Busio was so close to being underneath the tower from that charm. If he had been, and then the CC had come through from Woody, that likely would have killed him. 2 tower shots definitely would have connected.
Junja on the way and inspired in the area.
Let's go Daisy.
Can they take the Cassio out of the equation?
Oh anjir. Anjir.
Jir, Daisy-nya kemana? Oh, nice.
Tapi masih dapet.
Oke, satu lagi.
It's a double
Tukaran doang ya.
A crazy collapse from Junja. Q's in, connects the ultimate as well. But Quad was able to find a
Anjir, nicknya Betty anjir.
Quite have the damage needed to turn the kills in.
Pemain lama itu anjir Betty.
Credit to Quad for getting the ulti off. I don't think that is quite as favorable, but you can see the aggressive look here from Junja. And this is a team that's played together for so long, excellently coordinated.
Ulti.
Busio flashes onto Maple, locks him down as much as he can, but the Q has already come through, so the damage is there. Chains the
Mantap support
flashes out, gets a nice ulti off, but then Maple has extra charges of his ultimate to be able to finish that one off. Busio secures a kill, and crucially in this 2v2, Maple got 2, Quad got 0, right? Making the lane matchup that much easier. Merc trades alongside the lost chapter secured for Maple makes the matchup so much easier.
And this is every single champion except for Kaisa is giving you Merc trades value in terms of that tenacity right now. This is a fantastic early purchase to have. Getting that extra gold is going to make this matchup so much easier. On top of the additional boots 2 movement speed, Cassio obviously going to be lagging behind for the vast majority in terms of that MS overall. But well played, well punished. Ultimately, just the distribution of gold that really makes it so favorable, as you highlighted. And now, when it comes to the overall gold, it's within touching distance. It's not that significant. But the 3 grubs for FlyQuest does mean we need to keep our eye on this grub spawn, where both teams are kind of going to open up onto the map. Where are these laners going to go? How are they going to assign?
Itu ultinya kayak Vexana atau Annie kok.
Still holds
Kayak Annie sih.
pretty much a full level over his lane counterpart.
Gue gak tau sih Vexana kayak mana skillnya.
Thanks to the double kill, Maple has been able to close the
Sama
gap. Still finds
kayaknya.
himself a little bit down in farm, but the ultimate
Ngeluarin terus udahnya nyerang sendiri.
Dragon is still available. PSG weren't able to find that cross map when the grubs are dropping. Now with the grubs respawning soon, Whipple will have his TP available. We're cresting the 10-minute mark as well, which is happening right now, which will unleash those TPs and mean that Whipple will be poised and ready to fight in the event that grubs start, and Aja won't have that same response.
And this is going to be a really tough fight if PSG do want to contest second grubs. But with bot lane already going in, with Whipple getting aggressive here, looks like the Dragon might be the play instead. Aja now backing up, Junja on the way in.
Firman
Whipple
Ardian bilang
waiting where he wants to go. Masu
prediksi
ulti
Aston
ready.
Villa
Can get involved in this fight if he needs to.
Lah,
Waduh,
dimajuin
gue
lagi.
gak nonton bola cuy. Paling MU kalah mah.
There, flash out from Junja. Solid start to the play from the side of FlyQuest. Really take control of the bottom side of the map.
DG dianggurin. Kalau di LoL PC emang gitu cuy, nggak yang 4 menit langsung Dragon langsung gas. Nggak gitu cuy.
Excellent route from Betty. Curtain call there now too.
Tapi ini juga udah 10 menit sih, agak lama juga sih ini.
Healing up, nice sidestep, blinking health bar, nowhere
Gak bisa kemana-mana dia anjir.
from the side of PSG.
I mean, they really used their range to perfection right there. Nicely done from Maple and Betty. Quad couldn't hit anyone.
Yeah, and this is the problem, right? It's like Cassio is one of these more close-range mages. If you can keep her at arm's reach, very hard for her to get involved. She doesn't hit the Noxious Blast. She doesn't have that movement speed.
And it opens up the grubs as well for PSG.
Bit disastrous because if you looked at the item spike, Static was completed for Masu. You had Redemption coming in for Inspired. He's forced to use that mid, and now a lot of the strength that they should have had in this fight no longer there. Didn't get the Dragon either. Didn't really get much bot, so played for the kill, played for that gold. But luckily for them, powerful enough. Prio on their even lanes in top and mid means that they can just walk in and take this, get the 4-grub spike. That could have been much worse. Credit to Fly for getting back out on the map fast enough to stop the 3-for-3 grub trade.
Yeah, because after Quad died, Fly no longer felt confident enough to be able to contest the Dragon. On top of that, there was a huge wave in mid that Quad ended up losing off the back of that, extending the gold lead even more in favor of Maple. And yeah, I mean, PSG, the idea was good to start off the grubs. The problem is you've just used 2 ultis in your mid and AD carry. And on top of that, Whippo's just TP top lane and Aja doesn't have TP available. So it's a difficult objective for you to continue to fight for, which means that FlyQuest find themselves with 5 grubs, which is a great place to be in as Whippo gets himself another plate.
Gonna get 2 here. Aja has no support. So Whippo, I'm not sure how much information he has, but isn't gonna risk overcommitting or taking too bad of a trade. Of course, when the coal completes, Aja will get a bit of a gold injection, will even up this lane to a certain degree. But now that both teams have their 1 item spikes, this would have been a time where
Terus gak pernah ada pakai di turnamen gede gini kah? Assassin gak kepake cuy. Akali doang paling.
Yang lagi kepake banget sekarang
Nocturne ya.
Dari kemarin kombonya banyak banget aneh-aneh anjir.
Around bot lane, maybe they can catch Maple off guard. It's very respectful though. Pings are coming down from both sides.
And this is where the merch rate value is insane, right? Leona goes from feeling unstoppable to manageable when you have that. So it's all about this miasma. They can layer the CC if they
Itu selama-lamanya event proses jungle-nya kayak gitu nanti, apa ada waktu cepetnya nanti kalau di late game?
Nanti cepet kalau udah level berapa ya gue lupa. 8 sama 8
pas buka ulti kan?
Iya. Ada jadinya tuh lu level berapa pasifnya tuh naik level. Jangan gue lupa di berapa aja. 8-12 gitu.
Masu forced to cleanse. Jinx. Look at that for perfect sync. Of course, the cleanse isn't because of Betty. The cleanse is because he has no idea where the rest of PSG.
I mean, it's one of those things where in solo queue maybe you don't cleanse that, right? Because you're just like, there's
do it, you won't.
Yeah.
In pro, you're like,
I'm cleansing that.
I can either not have cleanse, or I can be dead and embarrassed for not having cleansed, right? So
exactly,
makes sense.
Yep. I mean, it's just, in all honesty, it's a good perspective to have. You know, just burn the flash. Better to live and not have the flash than to die and have it up, as you already said. Same
movement for
principle.
Quad. So
Either way.
awkward.
Either way, we kind of take stock of the situation. The gold advantages that PSG find themselves with are on mid and AD carry. Betty has been picking up
Itu hero yang nggak bisa bunuh musuh jungle kah? Iya,
also
si
securing
Ivan.
that double early on means
Biasanya didoa-doain.
in a very good position. And as MasterCard Lane Economy Snapshot is highlighting for us, the advantages for FlyQuest are sitting on the top side. So right now, I think PSG is
Bang, kok jadi ngantuk gini mainnya bang?
Nggak tahu, bosen anjir.
Asli ini lebih parah dari LPLCK anjir.
Down to that execution, we talked about it. So many good pick tools on the side of PSG. But when you're facing a Casio alongside that Ivern, 5v5s can be really tricky if you don't have the proper setup. Tower for tower trade.
Padahal kepiknya champion nabrak yang kanan ya.
As well. So again, a situation where Fly are able to find the greater trade. Got the grubs earlier. Now grabbing the Herald in a position to start to really blow this gold lead open. We'll see where they want to use the Herald. Obviously, bot and mid tier 1 are both still up. But I think against a pick composition, just opening up mid lane gives you so much more access to the map.
In terms of itemization, it's pretty even across the board. Stridebreaker, though, finished with Whippo after securing that first Tower Bloods. He was injected with a lot of gold. Now they can use this Herald to unlock mid. Masu has to showcase respect once again.
Whippo waiting over the wall. Daisy fading away, gives us a little wave goodbye. Masu has to be very careful, though. As long as he's the follow-up, he'll be fine, but if he gets caught out, he's deleted very quickly. Maple level 11, really trying to use his power. Forces the dominance out from Whippo, doesn't use the ult himself, so again, these small cooldown advantages don't look to be too important initially, but if they can follow up on them, may be able to build a greater advantage.
You are seeing, I would say subtly, one of the problems of FlyQuest composition being range, right? We saw it earlier with Quad in the mid lane where Quad just couldn't hit the Ahri or the Jhin.
Yeah.
And in that situation there, Bwipo, he wanted to ult, build Fury, then get a longer stun off. But again, he just wasn't quite in range. Now, this may not matter depending on the outcome of the team fight, but it is something to keep track of that, like, Ahri and Jhin, these champions that just get bonus movement speed from things in their kits, as well as the things like the fleet footwork, like, it can be really annoying for champions like Renekton, for champions like Cassia, for Kai'Sa, who really wants to be within range of you, right? And so, we'll see if it ends up being a problem. But, yeah, again,
Bang, ya bener aja bang, ngantuk banget gua nontonnya anjir.
It's not really resulting in a huge
Yang kanan kagak ada niatan itu apa bikin wave buat nge-dash orang gitu.
Anar Hua bilang ngantuk berat asli udah mau 20
I mean, also,
menit.
it's just, it's
Kalau yang gini sih emang scaling.
you know, a Western team recognizing they've got good scaling and
Di
just
kanan kayak begini ujung-ujungnya kalah.
I don't know, I really love the fact that every game either starts...
Nah itu cocok gak sih? Nah.
Tuh ajar aja stun.
Akhirnya.
Nah.
Gak mati.
Anjir, gak mati cuy.
Aduh.
Go Daisy, go. Not able to get anything else. Walking away now as Maple gets a bit of a chunk there.
Udah bengong lagi dong.
ambitiously tries to contest the Scuttle Crab in the mid lane, and you could argue that it was a success because his team did secure the objective and it ends up being a trade of flashes. But Quad investing the TP, ready for a fight. Which
Drake in
one
3
does
seconds.
manifest?
Maple no ult, Junja no ult. So if we look at the 5v5 Fly, feel good about the trade. Yes, they're down Whippo's flash, but they have all their team fight tools.
We find ourselves in another situation similar to the previous game where Maple wants to back. I think he has enough gold to complete his item, but I think it's going to be too late, which means the second dragon of the game will go over to FlyQuest. Interrupt's going to come through from Whippo as well, and I mean, there's no rush to go back to base at this point, given that the objective is already...
Mountain Soul.
Udah ini mah kiri menang ya.
Of course, Jhin notoriously bad at killing some of these beefier health bars, and when you have the shielding on top from Inspired, always going to feel good to get more out of those shields. See if there's any.
Tuh menangnya berapa lama aja nggak tahu nih.
Serpent's Fang anymore.
HP nunggu.
True. We find ourselves in a more measured game than I was expecting.
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's important to note that, like, when PSG, you know, when they're not forced to play crazy, they're often they're slow, objective fight, pick kind of team. And that's part of the reason I think that they're so respected and they have found so much success internationally is why they were able to take like BLG, for example, to 5 games is they can play a...
Rotasi PSG-nya aneh anjir.
I will say, I feel like
Itu Renekton bisa nyampe diem di situ aman aja, aneh.
very aware of what happens at MSI based on what I'm watching, you know. Like again, it's purely speculation.
Itu kalau ketemu Korea, kalau ketemu Cina udah mati berapa kali nih Renekton ya. Lah, yang dicam.
Respect this play. It does feel like they're super respectful of their opposition.
Well, you can't afford to lose. They certainly do not want to. Nice poke onto Bwipo.
Stress bilang PSG ini Paris Saint-Germain bukan
Akhirnya 4 orang.
Iya cuy, Paris Saint-Germain.
Akhirnya.
So PSG find a quick kill topside, but the wave getting deleted by Aja is crucial. Now in the mid lane, they're already using their Herald, but Maple is here to defend.
That was a crazy good play from PSG.
Charm is clutch. Rue coming in from
Dapat.
trouble. Masu needs to get out. PSG.
Masih lanjut tabrak cari.
Stop the counter punch coming in for Fly. Well done.
Everything about that was incredible. Buso now goes for the stun.
Quad has to be the difference maker. He and Masu. Masu only on a single item. He's behind. This is so hard for them to play out. Quad locked up. Unstoppable Vi goes in. Junja going back. Quad wants to get a bit more space, flashing out to safety. Busio going to be the sacrifice. So the rest of the team can escape, but now Masu's in trouble. Ignite ticking just so they keep the vision, just so they can follow where he goes. In trouble now. Knockback is there. Masu
ngapa-ngapain.
just delaying the death. PSG, what a beautiful sequence.
It really was, Dracos. I mean, Aja ults bot to deny the cross map from happening. Bwipo wisely realizes I'm dead, there's nothing I can do in this situation. He even tried to disengage from the tower, knowing that the dive was coming, but they cut off his escape route, so he just cuts off the wave so they can't get the tower. However, PSG, they TP into mid lane here from Maple, and then he connects the charm onto Inspired, catching him off guard, setting up for the pick follow-up from Betty, and then the TP flank to come in from Aja, who'd been zoned away from the bot tower. But FlyQuest can't play for the bot tower because now they have to defend for this fight. And honestly, Busio, he overstays here. I think that they should have used Busio, sacrificed him to help Quad and Masu get away. The ultimate doesn't connect with a nice flash from Junja. And then they turn it into a 5 versus 3 where they end up picking up 4 kills in total. Just a great sequence where they protect their mid, protect their bot, find 4 kills, and FlyQuest get nothing.
Incredible. And I think this highlights so well the strengths of PSG, how composed they can be as a team, as a unit
Ngantuk, Cuci buka dulu deh cuy, bangke emang.
Some of those moments were a bit too chaotic. Clearly losing track of the play, losing track of the greater context of the game, because PSG initially just managed to stall the play, but then when Maple was able to go forward, leverage the range of the Jin coming in from Betty as well, it went from bad to worse so damn fast.
And I mean, PSG is a team that I think many see as an easy draw, you know, especially for the West, especially given the options available, but they continue to usurp those expectations, getting their revenge against...
Wah, ngantuk, Jir.
Very comfortable position against FlyQuest. The game is definitely not over.
Besok gua kuliah nih cuy, gimana nih?
With the itemization
Masuk pagi.
positions that they're in. I mean, I guess the good news for FlyQuest is when you look at the scoreboard, you're not that concerned. No, you know, you see, oh, well, my mid laner's got 2 items, your mid laner's got 2 items.
Terakhir kan udah 2 item tuh ya.
Especially Ivern, gonna primarily building support.
Beraniin kali itu ke Baron.
Okay, sure, we're down a bit of anti-healing and the crit cloak, but still, it's not the end of the world. So FlyQuest shouldn't be all doom and gloom just yet. Especially given that they've only lost 1 tower and they were able to secure that bot 1 as well. So, at the end of the day,
Untung gak BO3, bener cuy. Ini kalau BO3 nih udahan gue nih.
Might be. Bwipo, I think, is going to be the player that really needs to find a way to leverage his advantage. He's the top laner with the item completion. He's the one with the individual gold lead. Level 14.
Harinya pulang.
Get onto the backline if you can ever find Betty. You talked about it earlier, right? The range is so difficult. May have to come down to a flank.
Itu mau DG, Baron. Oh, DG.
Nah, ambil Baron, ambil. Lama dah.
Cassio, Kaisa together. They can obliterate the objective if they're given time. The Fly a bit split. They're going to lose out on the Drake here. Won't get much in return. Bwipo really needs to be close to mid just in case the dive play comes through.
There's also nothing Bwipo can do. Like that wave bot lane is he can't.
Kenalnya turun lagi.
So he's just like, I guess I'll just hover around mid lane.
Nunggu tele udah tau.
Masu stun.
Iya udah gitu doang.
No additional follow-up.
Every time someone gets CC'd, he's hitting you with the Deadly Flourish.
Yeah, this is... I feel like it's a clear indicator when people have played with the Jin comps and with the same players for a really long time. Because we saw even earlier today, like little miscommunications from Fnatic on where exactly the Jin CC needed to go. But no matter where that champion goes, he always gets that W.
Larinya mundur jauh banget.
I feel like we're running into one of the League of Legends classic, ladies and gentlemen, which is the team who's winning but not.
Perasaan musuhnya tadi ramainya di mid dah itu Arik tambah mundur banget.
But like there's some context. Yeah. But the simplification is they're going to do more sustained damage if we go late. The more complex version is it's still really hard for them to get in a position to do that damage.
Yeah, I mean, execution is kind of what it's going to come down to, and that's really been the biggest concern for the Western teams so far at this World Championship. Opportunities have been presented to a bunch of different Western teams, and they haven't been able to capitalize on them. So we'll see if they can find those opportunities in this game. The mid towers are kind of easy objectives to look at.
Langsung last whisper anjir Jin ya.
PSG could probably be indexing more, as that top tower is an easy one to take. If they overstack, invest their vision, get the prio in mid, which they're pretty consistent at doing, and then play towards that top, they could probably easily secure it. And you can start to see that happening now. They've been able to push in that top wave now. They move into the river, they get the mid push, and then they turn their attention towards the top tower. So I think they could have made this play earlier. Ultimately, though, they still get the objective. And there's not really much to cross-map on the side of FlyQuest. This tower was kind of destined to fall eventually.
Certainly. Dawn Core now completed for Inspired, so a lot of additional healing and shielding power might be enough to block that initial burst of damage that comes in from the PSG composition. Masu going for the AP itemization, I think makes a lot of sense. The range disadvantage you highlighted earlier, somewhat mitigated when you have Kaisa who could just unleash that poke.
See, how the goal differences continually grow in favor of PSG. A large portion of it off the back of those 4 kills they were able to find around mid. Betty's sitting on a 400 gold bounty right now. Target that FlyQuest
Nah, ini nih perang nggak sih?
PSG overstacking a mid, but looking for a potential
Anjir.
fight. Look at overstacking. Look at all these Jin traps though.
Ayolah bang.
Making things a little bit more awkward.
Bisa skip aja nggak guys match ini
Ya
guys?
ampun.
So frustrating. Quad finishing Rylai's. So really, between Inspired and Quad, if they ever get on top of anyone, they will die. There's no getting away.
Ya anjir yang kanan minimal coba tabrak kayak ada Ahri,
Ngantuk kan?
ada Fai.
Ngantuk berat.
Anjir.
This tower is just being stuck.
Nah, gitu dong, majuin paksa. Nah, setup baron. Paksa, coba pancing baron nggak sih? Pulang.
But top wave in an even spot, you can really take your time. You can spend as much time mid as you want, as long as the enemy doesn't send anyone up there. And PSG taking advantage of that fact to break this tower. And when you're the person playing the Ahri Vi composition, every bit of space you get is so incredibly valuable.
My question is that, like, what is the moment that FlyQuest is kind of waiting for? Because PSG, you know, like, all of their moves have kind of been predictable, right? Oh, we're going to play for top tower, and then we're going to play for mid tower. And a lot of that is Betty is able to guarantee mid prio because Masu's largely left isolated in the mid lane, right? FlyQuest on the meanwhile are just kind of farming. They just keep catching.
Tengahnya baronnya udah mulai nih dicari wardnya. Oh langsung hah? Oh yang cari Ahri.
Wow, they are forcing this.
Akhirnya kayak gitu dong.
Ayo.
Nah, pancing musuhnya masuk itu siap tuh cipok tuh. Ah nggak kena.
Luckily, the brush vision coming
Ini cipok batu.
They don't get a lot out of FlyQuest to start that objective. It costs them the TP. If they can't find the fight here, it's a bit difficult. Whippo. Gonna get a little bit more on the stride breaker. Nice initial damage.
Malah.
Easy initial kill pickup. Nice counter engage coming in. Redemption. Whippo still standing. That's gonna be big. FlyQuest finding the initial angle. Junja running out to safety. Curtain call coming across the backside, but there's no blinking health bars yet. Maple trying to make the difference. Busio is there with the CC to lock him down. Charm goes the wrong way. Maple ticking down. Poison in his veins. He's gonna drop. Shut down. Coming through for Quad. FlyQuest beautifully played.
I was worried about that engage from Whippo because it felt like that he'd overextended. He was gonna get turned.
Malah Renek yang berani nge-engage anjir.
FlyQuest finally found the confidence to make the play that they needed. Betty chipping away at Whippo.
He doesn't do enough damage to finish that kill. And again, they obliterate this objective. Do they turn for Aja? Rage stacking, 7 seconds on the Meganar. It's not enough. FlyQuest getting the objective. They were getting bled out across the map, but PSG overcommit on that Baron. And Fly are quick to punish.
Yeah, it was. I understand the idea. Like, we've just gone back to base. We've hit our power spikes. Let's force before FlyQuest can spend gold of their own. But then it ends up in this situation. This is what concerned me for Bwipo. It felt like that he was the one overforcing at this point. But the amount of utility that he gets in combination with the Sterex and the Ivan, look at this massive shield. He's able to soak up so much. Quad's ultimate comes through. They take out Woody. They turn their attention onto Junjo as Arja is forced to back away. And Maple just can't really lock a target down. So he's the one that then gets locked down. And basically, Bwipo just acts as a tank. He is the one soaking up all the damage. He's the one drawing all that pressure. And PSG crumble under that pressure. They can't find the targets that they're looking for. And FlyQuest get the front to back that they're looking for.
And kind of the success I feel like they had in previous plays, making them forget how powerful perspective. The item advantage is not enough to balance out when Cassio is able to get into range so easily. Bwipo really the bait, and this is something Inspire talked about in his interview with Travis Gafford. Hey, there are so many teams when we're winning, when we're finding wins domestically, where we just offer them a little crumb, they come in and we take everything for them, and that's exactly what happened with Bwipo. Stun coming in, not going to burn anything else. Baron there, and this is where the Ivern gets so frustrating. No real long-range siege potential, but a lot of tools to make PSG's life difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the other problem with FlyQuest comp is hitting the towers can be a little bit stressful, but if they keep leveraging the Baron power,
buset.
Ayo bang, jadi ini fake terakhir bang. Ya elah, masih hidup. Oops, dikit lagi.
I can't believe that he lived that, but you're really seeing the value of this Ivern. The utility, the redemption, the shielding, they get the tower. I mean, it's like the perfect.
Ya harusnya majuin tim kayak tadi gitu tuh, tim kanan aja.
Terima kasih senpai.
Ini mana buaya.
Mengirimkan dukungan 10.000. Tanya Bang itu tweet di ADC lagi oke ya. Aku lihat kemarin dia pakai tweet oke soalnya.
Emang tuh segi ramen nih. Twitch.
Twitch enggak.
Enggak cuy, Twitch di mana di Wildrift kan maksudnya?
Cuman kemarin dipakai sekali gara-gara combo kalau Twitch mah. Jadi
combo apa dia Nocturne?
Nocturne Aurora.
Oh, karena combo doang berarti cuy.
Soalnya kan kalau misalkan Aurora ulti itu tuh kekerem semua di buletan, dimatiin sama Nocturne itu nggak bisa lihat yang di luar buletan. Twitchnya udah tinggal nembak dari luar.
And now you have Seekers coming in for Masu. He's got enough AP to empower the Void Seeker, so you've kind of weathered the storm of what was
cuy, bangunin gua kalau match sudah kelar cuy.
In terms of power in the game.
For sure. And the Serpent's Fang gonna offer a lot of value. That's
I didn't think we'd see it, but there it is. Healing. I mean, you feel for Betty though. He's the carry, and he has to buy the shield reduction item and the heal reduction item.
Jin not having Infinity Edge does feel bad.
Yeah, I'll say Mortal Reminder is very comparable to Lord Dominic's these days because they obviously nerfed the armor pen on it. So that heal cut doesn't feel bad.
Yes.
Serpent's Fang obviously will feel good if you're getting value out of the shielding cut. In any other situation, it's going to feel quite bad.
Gale's Crucible now finished for Inspired as well. It's like a mega fed Ivern.
Hey, bubble wrap this Renekton, man. He is not going to die. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
They put the baby in Kevlar, Betty. He is safe.
Yep. I mean, I just think that it enables his aggression perfectly. Now, PSG have set their sights on the tier 2 in bot lane. They've got a nice push in mid. They're looking for picks. They won't find one. Busio here to defend for now, but Quad is on his way. They've got to be careful of a potential dive. They don't really have the members here. The cross map coming through from Bwipo on the top lane.
It's taking a bit of time.
Yeah, the TP response can happen as well.
There's no real other play to go for here. They get the TP. Obviously, long cooldown before Baron and another Drake will be up. So TP advantage to the side of Fly. That's kind of what they get from the pressure. FlyQuest in a pretty damn good spot, all things considered, right?
Yeah,
we talked about their comp outscaling. They are now in a strong enough position that they can fight for lane prio, that they can set up on these objectives. And again, really that one play bringing them back in this game is Bwipo. Getting a little aggressive here, but he's safe. He has the shields, he's charmed, but he's still alive. Curtain call coming out. Follow from Maple. Not enough. Oh, and this is this is the problem we've seen with some of these Ahri Jhin compositions. If you don't have the damage to finish that first kill, it feels so hard to follow up anymore in the fight.
So that was what I was going to say. I feel like PSG are running into a bit of a damage problem now because it's not just that you have to get through this Renekton, it's that you've also got to get through that repeated support.
Yang kanan udah kalah scaling.
Inspired.
Cuman kapan udah ketutupnya lama?
With this much utility, like
and the thing is, if you burn your cooldowns on the Renekton, you do not kill him, and you overstep even 1 second, it's Masu flying in on top of you.
It's the war of attrition.
Yeah,
I just feel like you lose.
You can't win the war of attrition. So you have.
And you've got to reload. Like.
It was cool when he was ahead. When he's even or behind, it feels really bad.
Masu. Let's.
Okay, it doesn't feel that bad. Nice sidestep from Masu. That saves his life. Does have the cleanse, but lucky he doesn't have to use it. TP now being used mid. That was the advantage they had from earlier. But Aj is off to the side. They have to keep their eyes on this Narc. Instantly inspired, now zoning him off, using Daisy to get him away. 13 seconds on Baron. They can't use their mid prior to go up. PSG already have setup on the Drake, and it looks like Fly feel more confident in the 5v5. They don't want to give them access into the river. Daisy going in, a bit more poke. Betty and Maple isolated.
Whippo leveraging the fog of war, going to get spotted out by the trap though.
Good patience from PSG though. They wait
Dragon
till Daisy
not
dies.
being started off. All of the vision is just like, look, they're out of wards. The only thing they get to see. Oh, Busio.
Quick stun. What are you out for now?
It's the ulti again. Busio needs to be a little bit more patient, I feel. A few times now.
Down.
What the hell?
Stun not quite hitting. The charm was perfect. Masu with the back, but Betty just flashes into his team.
Mati Jun ya.
Betty goes down. Void Seeker from Masu. He's ready to take over in this fight. Flash forward. The double redemption. Look that.
Akhirnya anjir. Penta kah?
Everybody in this game. Masu.
Enggak sih Penta pakai hitam.
Can he get 4? Quadra for Masu. Maple running. They won't give him the Penta. But that's a redemption story if I've ever seen one.
In the war of attrition, it is FlyQuest that stands strong. Quad's HP didn't even see a semblance of damage. And you
Reneknya udah kesel ya, nggak mau maju-maju, musuhnya gua aja yang maju kan.
the fight looks promising. It's just not enough. Whippo, his engaged fumbles. It doesn't work out, but the amount that he is able to tank up is crazy. A nice snipe comes through from Masu onto Betty. He flashes over the wall to secure that kill, and then it just becomes a chase down. FlyQuest, they use their comp to perfection, and they basically say, we're going to run at you. If you can't kill us, we're going to kill you.
And I gotta say, credit to FlyQuest. Weathered the storm mentally when they were falling behind, when they were making 1 or 2 missteps
Ini
against
Kuro kayaknya balik kalau game ini udah beres sih ya.
national stage, but kept strong.
Ngantuk banget gua anjir, asli dah.
Hex flash over the wall coming from Busio, trying to zone.
Kayaknya sekitar berapa ya? 5 sampai 10 menit lagi lah kayaknya ini.
It's a bit of a split focus, and Quad can flash over the wall, but it's awkward, but they will secure the Baron. Whippo not too
Roldan
scared.
bilang wekur
Well played by
bangun.
Yeah, they
FlyQuest.
played that
Kaisa
really well.
dapat
Not only does Whippo
kuadrato.
go over, but the moment he gets
Emang iya Kaisa dapat kuadra?
when the flash did come through. I say the flash, the
Nggak
Q
ada,
came
anjing.
through from Ginger to be able to create space, but that was enough to help them secure the Baron. And FlyQuest with another objective could look to try and finally break the base. Again, the reason why it's been so difficult for them to leverage the advantage that they had earlier, even though they'd already kind of outscaled at that point, was just because of the range. It's very difficult for them to siege, so they kind of rely on the Baron, but now that they've got
Ya, harusnya Baron dipakai buat netralin, buat nge-push. Ntar fight di Dragon Soul tuh. Atau enggak, kalau nggak fight juga, pas udah ada Dragon Soul pasti berani nih kiri, nyeruduk.
But obviously Merc Treads as well, really good in the
Jadi ya, kurang lebih 5 sampai 10 menit lah.
And now PSG really holding on. This position, earlier if Whippo stepped too far forward, it was hard for him to survive, but at this stage, he can eat a bunch of cooldowns. And the rest of his team will be there to punish if PSG overcommit or cannot finish that kill.
Don't like the fact that FlyQuest is basically just playing through one. Oh, okay,
Doesn't
never
matter.
mind. They're just
just
going to brute
stronger.
force it.
They have the Daisy, and they know they're tankier. They know they win the 5v5. And this is the other awkward thing too, right? Is that there's just not, outside of Aja's ulti, there's not really a lot of reliable AoE. I mean, you can't really punish them either when they group up unless Meganar is ready to go.
Truthfully, PSG just don't have enough
Pas
damage.
dapet, Pit diambil.
Target focused. You've got
Dan
Ari.
sekarang Aram ke mid tuh.
You've got
Bangun Kor, mau selesai tuh.
all like lock down a target.
Bangunkan gua kalau
Dead, you can convert the rest.
Tiwado udah kalah.
Like you can't even
Gua
kill
mau
that
tiduran
one
dulu lah
target. So if you
anjing.
can't get rid of one, what are you gonna do about the other 4?
And credit to Inspired, being willing to pull this jungler out, right? Ivern is a champion that people kind of love or hate depending on what your champion pool looks like, but against the Vi Ahri, if you can weather the storm, Ivern's one of the perfect answers, right?
I
Because
mean, yeah,
it
it was-
disrupts so much, the shielding stops the pick potential.
It was one of his
Kutuar
domestic
bilang
comforts, right? That
tumben
alongside the
kesan TG
Amumu,
kelihatan,
and like
Kur.
he's proven why teams have chosen to ban it away from it multiple
Udah jarang
times.
pakai.
Woody over the wall though, not spotted. Quad, we'll see him. TP now coming in, Whippo joining the squad. They just want to keep bullying with this 5-man.
Iya. Anjir.
Anybody, and again, the redemption comes in, the shielding comes in this time around. The Serpent's Fang was there, mitigated some of that value. But will be forced to run away.
They still can't
Line
kill
now
him,
retreating.
Oh, maaf.
Maybe they overstepped their boundaries there. FlyQuest, their siege is going to be slowed down a lot. They did have a nice wave on the bot side of the map that they could have played with.
already top, just continuing to pressure.
Not sure what they can do with that, though. They need a wave in mids.
Stalling to play for the wave in mid, it looks like. A window of opportunity where Betty doesn't have ult, Maple doesn't have ult, Junja no ult. Perhaps Fly just want to hard force here in mid lane.
Healing from Whippo coming through thanks to the red buff.
I mean, they're very powerful in the 5v5. Can they just dive this tower?
Vial was used, but the Baron buff is worn off now. So now it goes back to...
Tapi emang itu Renek build-nya emang build buat maju gak jelas sih kan. Sterak Visage.
For a pick here.
Junja locked up.
Dia ngarep maju bisa nge-stun ngebadanin. Ivannya ya udah nge-heal aja.
I've seen a lot of FlyQuest games where they would have gone over that wall.
Tebel banget.
Well, they've talked about how important this game really is. It'll put them at 2-1. The opposition in the 2-1 bracket is not easy, but you know what? It's the World Championship. No matchup.
40 detik menuju DG.
PSG, a reminder that, as you highlighted, a team
Harusnya penentuan di sini. Kalau nunggu bareng lagi gak tau dah.
quickly reminded Mad Lions they are no easy opposition, and in the early game certainly did the same to Fly.
I mean, PSG had a composition that with the early lead, they needed to snowball
100%,
faster.
100%.
They needed to play faster, and we talked about how like
Kalau PSG gak mau kontes ini DG sih,
they just waited a little too long.
mending sorehan ya.
Those 3 item power spikes, and that was the window that FlyQuest needed to turn the game around. Ultimately, FlyQuest did play the patient game. It ended up working out. They didn't overforce.
Support full
Now they
item
found themselves in this
bisa.
position. Soul point, Dragon spawning, 2 seconds.
PSG don't really have a lane to play through. They're completely split. It's an easy collapse. Masu could have got the first kill onto Junja. There's no fight here for PSG. Redemption goes down. We're going to take the additional healing. 500 health.
Cuman
Masu
satu.
now unstoppable. Takes a bit more time than expected to kill Junja.
Nunggu Baron dong.
He's dead all the same.
I mean, honestly,
Gue nonton War karena fans Lukor. Wih, punya fans kah gue cuy.
again because of the range. It's hard
Tapi
for them to
jujur ini
siege,
ngantuk
but
banget perangnya. Gue juga ngantuk, udah tidur gue dikit cuy. 20 menit kayaknya.
objectively they don't have
Tapi
enough.
tidurnya 5 menit, 5 menit, 5 menit.
Do not do enough to kill all of FlyQuest.
Ayolah bang.
Udah ini harusnya udah angle mau di end.
To make Maple a
Oh enggak. Mereka nunggu Baron gak jadi.
I mean, if he could land a full combo onto Masu
Gue
before the
kencing dulu lagi,
Mountain Soul,
gue
maybe.
buka lagi dah.
Maybe.
If he can land a full combo onto Masu when he doesn't have cleanse and forgets to push Zanya's or flash.
Correct. If he stood there.
And if maybe if he doesn't have Mountain Soul.
Fairza bilang
That doesn't
ngopi
account for
dukur.
Locket. Anything that Ivan does at all.
Just anything. Literally. He can just, like, at this point his voice line gives shielding. He just goes, oh, when he gets 300.
Yeah, so, yeah. Let's not forget, okay, one of the, I guess you could say stupidest things, right? It's like, Inspired's ulti can not only block charm, but if you're not even in range, you could just, Inspired's ulti can tank the W from Ahri as well.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate.
Suranji itu harusnya
And obviously for both these teams, right?
ini soalnya ya kiri emang kiri sih. Kalau lo mau ngomong ngantuk emang mereka planningnya scaling ya.
PSG would have the chance to adapt.
Cuman yang kanannya yang harusnya nabrak kagak mau maju sama sekali.
It's really going to take a miracle for them to come back.
I mean, this is kind of...
Daisy's soloing the Baron.
Yeah, just keeping it aggroed for now. I
Yeah.
think that FlyQuest, they could just have quad. Yeah, Masu can also just do it with Daisy. That's
I mean,
also
greatest.
Oke, mana cuy? Sebelum gak?
Lagi Baron.
Cupcake Daisy for some reason. Well, they one-shot it.
Yep.
Aljir, Dragon Soul. Item udah jadi, 43
Udah nih,
menit.
udah tinggal digas nih, udah kiri
Kalah
gas.
PSG cuy.
It's just the math just does not.
All in aja udah all in.
Kind of where I'm at, yeah.
They lose the
Nice tuh.
Excel spreadsheet version of League of Legends as Whippo goes in. Some initial damage.
Akhirnya bisa ke belakang tapi udah telat ya.
Now running Aja
Coba deh 20 menit yang lalu.
doing so much damage.
Ends up being a 1-for-1 the trade of
Lagi-lagi cuy, tukar 1-1 kan barusan coy.
Can't play. You highlighted it. Daisy just blocked.
Coba deh 20 menit yang lalu.
Only the Orb Deception will go through. Charm again, hitting a might. This man cannot catch a break. FlyQuest pushing in. This is a moment where they can overstep. One of the few left to them. Can they play it out clean?
Masu just melts these towers. He's
Masu
going to
does
keep
so much
chipping
work.
away with the W.
W cooldown is non-existent. Masu going back.
Bagian begini baru dikeluarin tuh flash.
He wants going godlike in this matchup. Benny, a dead man walking.
Goodbye PSG.
Golden baby, yet another quadra to come in.
Quadra dia cuy.
One out in style. FlyQuest moving on to 2-1.
Beres juga.
Game for FlyQuest, but they don't overforce, they don't overaggress, they wait for their composition to scale up, to come online, and they're able to dominate. Masu gonna be the highlight player, of course, but inspired 1-1, 14, 100% KP on the Ivy.
I mean, good stuff, and I think I can just hear all of North America collectively breathing a sigh of relief, and at least some of North America's on our desk, so we'll find out what they have to say.
I mean, yeah, I feel so much better now.
You're not a part of the team. Calm down. Calm down. All right, relax.
The difference that 20 minutes of time makes, because I'd say before they had the comeback fight, I was so nervous. It felt like
akhirnya
that they were just making too many mistakes. That it was going to be another one of those games. Whew,
yeah,
finally.
I was like, look, Ari, Vi, Jen, I was worried for the Casio because it never really felt like we were going to have Prio in a fight, and then it just clicked.
Yeah, it's all about recovery,
gitu saatnya.
how the champions are supposed to work together, and I feel like FlyQuest did a spot-on job on this account, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, they were able to pull off a crucial
Ada Hagrid
that
cuy.
saved the game completely.
Oh my gosh, they absolutely were. Like, let's take another look at this one. This is when they were down in gold, I believe, and the game had gotten sneaky late. Like, Whiffle is level 16, but I'd said 10 seconds before this, Whiffle was going to flash forward and die, and that's what everybody thought was going to happen until Sterix, Ivern, Redemption come in, and he actually doesn't even get close to dying. Meanwhile, FlyQuest clean the fight.
It's ridiculous because this is just one of many moments, and I think you said Hilly on Twitter talked about basically creating space. Whipple created a lot of space. The one that reminded me, there he is!
What the fuck is this?
He's so cursed.
It is
Cepat ya.
and that's the game, actually. It's Whipple's Renekton turning into it. But look at Masu.
Anjir tupai damage 7.000 sama Ivan yang cuma mencet shield aja kalah.
It's not like they dove into Casio and he repelled them.
Yeah.
It was Masu just doing 50,000 damage in that game.
The freedom to walk up, because it was really difficult for PSG to do anything about it, especially that bot lane play where I would love to see the specific HP, but Renekton was like in the single digits, it looked like.
Yeah.
But there was no shot from PSG side to get a kill. And so Masu recognized it, that blue side jungle fight where he hopped in freely and chased them down. Beautiful to see.
Yuk langsung gas coy. Wawancara.
And we actually have Masu standing by with Shocks for the Verizon postgame interview.
Masu, congratulations. What a hard-fought win. First question has to be, how does it feel to finally get revenge for MSI on PSG?
It feels good. I never really had a grudge against PSG or anything, but I did really respect them, especially like they're a very good team. So it feels good beating them.
Yeah, they showed that again in this game. I want to say, talk to me about kind of the approach and the difficulties early on and even to mid in that game and what you had to change in order to get that turnaround.
Well, the change.
Flash kunci itunya udah keluar ya. Oh, itu di belakang.
Well, in the early game, we kind of made too many mistakes. We gave them
Next match peluru lagi Kor. Semoga seru ya.
And we were fine because we scaled way harder than
Playernya udah
them.
nge-setup
So we
nih.
understood that if we just didn't give them too much gold or we didn't let them stack
Gitu Weibo lah harusnya nggak sengantuk gitu.
But yeah, that was kind of the mindset we had. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it worked.
Ya paling 10 menitnya ngantuk, sisanya tapi lumayan harusnya.
Okay, now the fights come that we absolutely have to win. And you're on Kaisa and you don't have any kills yet.
Ini
and I
kalau
guess
gue
in
datang
every
ke
fight
stats
you're
sudah
like,
ngorok nih
okay,
gue
is
nih.
this gonna be my moment? Is that a stressful situation?
Kayak ini gue dulu nonton ini ketiduran di Oppenheimer.
I think I got 2 quarters, I'm not sure. But for the fights, I think the tension of course builds up between each item. Like
Nonton ini juga ketiduran gue dulu nonton Demon Slayer yang di kereta itu cuy.
So it's definitely a bit nerve-wracking. But you don't really think of that in the game. You
Temen
just think
gue
of
kan nonton bertiga sama berempat. Temen gue habis itu pada cerita gue ya iya aja. Iya aja keren banget gue bilang gitu.
A great position. How do you feel about the steps you're taking, not just for yourself, but also as FlyQuest, with the lessons from the entire year, knowing that a lot of the eyes of NA, all of them actually, are on you to give them some hope?
For sure, I think throughout the year, especially in summer, we grew a lot as a team. We became a lot closer and we played more coherently together. But I do think we have a long way to go, and I think we can definitely make it. So yeah, I think our team can definitely be pretty good.
Aditya bilang
Final
ngopi
question,
dulu, Kur.
how many times have you watched the music
Gak
video
ngopi, cuy.
and your part?
I can't count that many.
Oh bisa gak dipercepat interview Cok? Game udah lama nih. Tadi.
Congratulations, Masu. Fantastic.
Oh udah tuh udah. Move on tuh.
Sama banjir. Tinggi banget aja yang satu.
Majority of top laners in the meta. Although hold that thought is Whippo caught up in a bit of CC here. No ignite for Woody as it's burning down on Whippo. Excuse me. He's gonna die. First blood.
My bad.
Mabat. Tumben ada mic checknya.
Kadang tapi emang suka ada sih bentar doang.
Kok yang Packer nggak ada cuy.
Nah itu kayaknya gara-gara gamenya lama, itu OBS-nya kan nganggur, ngapain dulu ya?
Iya kayaknya bisa ngedit gue dulu nih. Gue sambil ngedit gue ya.
Udah
lu sekalian aja kelarin ini trailer Award 2025. Oke gue kelarin. Bukannya biasanya ada ya Kur? Kadang ada kadang enggak. Tadi Faker enggak ada cuy.
Kadang ada kadang enggak. Kayaknya emang game-game lama ada yang ada. Tadi kan kebetulan tadi tuh cepet ya. Iya masih cepet sih tadi itu kan.
Heavy is the clown. Faker is the clown. Sengaja banget tuh bagian clownnya muncul Faker. Kalian dukung PSG kalah cuy. Aduh, ente banget kalian coy.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good. I just feel so good.
TV skin kada geragas bangkur. Malas. Gue kira tahun ini bakal ini sih. Sponsornya bakal merek mobil listrik gitu. Soalnya belakang lagi gede campaign mobil listrik. Ternyata masih belum. Kalian ada yang tinggal di ini nggak cuy? Nggak jadi deh.
Dari hal-hal kecil, kita rayakan.
Shopee lu nggak usah ini ya.
Seperti Tropicana.
Saya nggak iklan. Lalu gimana LP yang sekarang Kur? LP apa ya? Oh, Linkin Park. Oke aja sih. Iwan main jam berapa? Udah kelar. Ini terakhir kan coy. Let's go. Internet so fast, you'll need seat belt for your couch. Nanti nonton World Final cuy di Senayan cuy. Semoga nggak panas kayak yang kemarin lagi. Panas beting.
Laba-laba Jawa bilang Bangkur, udah namatin Agudok Belong, masuk top 5%
Udah.
Asia gak hahaha.
Informasi top persen Asia mah hari Senin nanti. Stage-nya sampai kapan Kur? Nggak tahu ya. Pokoknya sampai semuanya dapat poin 32 atau 3.
Sisanya udah tinggal BO3 semua, cuman kayaknya
Sampai
masih
17
berapa ya?
Oktober. Sampai 14 Oktober cuy. Ini sekarang tanggal
6.
Tanggal 6. Besok ada lagi BO3 2 biji. Terus lanjutnya itu tanggal 10. Berarti tanggal 7 libur, terus nanti lanjut tanggal 10, tanggal 11, tanggal 12, tanggal 13, tanggal 14.
Andakara Saputra bilang next T1 lawan siapa bang?
Tidak tahu cuy. Lah, kenapa ada TFT juga nih anjir? 18 Oktober. Ada Magic Mayhem Regional Qualifier-nya anjir. Buat promosi tuh. Dan grand finalnya itu di 2 November. Cuy.
I think I just get a double stun because Ash had no flash, and I think we just win the game there. But I messed it up, and then the game took a bit longer, and then we couldn't fight anymore because Smolder was too strong.
Yeah.
We tried to do some side lane plays, but yeah, it didn't really work out. But I'm confident that next time we can take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the game, you said you had a bad early game, but the resiliency and the way in which you fought yourself back in the game, and you say it yourself, there was a couple of like mechanic misplays that in the end did us in. You know, how much courage does that give you that, hey, the game plan and the prep and our abilities is actually where it should be despite the loss?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it could be a lot worse, right? We could just gotten stumped, and then it was like, oh well, I guess we're just too bad. But it didn't feel like we were too bad. We were still worse. But at least for myself, at least, if I feel like if I don't int as much as I did this game, we're probably just gonna win. So that's nice for me.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for you for the next game. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.
It's great to have some context around this game here, and this was the game.
It was close. I mean, Smolder did 58,000 damage, had 600 stacks, and had 10 kills. But the fact that this game was actually this close is a testament to how creative.
Event nonton PC dimulai kapan? Nggak tahu ya, kalau nggak salah tanggal berapa sih? 30 Oktober kah? 28 Oktober kah?
Both games that have had double Yone games. The first one is a Yone Yasuo game, so that's already a fun composition to run.
Ngomong apa dia, Kor?
Just being able to
Gak terlalu penting, cuman ngomong-ngomong ini doang. Aku bisa.
Kenapa kalah?
Especially when they went up against Pain. Pain were just in a tough position
Next
because
time
they
gue
wanted
bisa,
to play
next
towards
time gue
Baron
bisa
or at
kayak
least
begitu
try and
cuy.
contest it, but they ended up being like, well, if we just send one person,
Kepleset dikit lah ya.
Yone's gonna be able
Tak
to do it,
bisa.
so we need to send two, then that means we're just completely
Kurang lebih begitu.
They were just in a tough position in that entire game.
And I'm just wondering, what could G2 do better today? Because they were able to put caps on sideline and try and buy time and save the situation, but the early game didn't go quite the way they expected to. So I appreciate the fact that they trust their approach. They trust
Lama nggak buka PC, sekarang masih ada event tebak-tebakan. Masih, tapi sekarang bisa langsung via web kan, nggak harus lewat klien.
Bisa.
Yeah, because at least this one was the.
Tapi nggak tahu ya, lewat kliennya ada juga kan Ari?
Ada.
But in the HA League game, it felt like it was a necessity because they were going to lose fights.
Cuman yang
Tapi
klien
mirip
dia
sama yang
cuma-
di website itu apa beda?
Sama.
Oh, sama.
Dia cuma redirect ke web doang yang di klien juga.
That maybe Broken Blade could play, just because
Jadi biar lu nggak usah login, nggak usah ngapain gitu.
what we have. Weibo has had an extremely difficult road here. They
Rewardnya
actually were
beda,
very close
Bagor.
to Gen G in that
Nggak
first
tahu deh.
game, and then they found their way into this game based off their second loss. But the importance of this is you can see the 2-1 pool and the 1-2 pool already being populated.
Yeah.
You really want to be in that 2-1.
Lama itu mereka di sana sebulan sambil liburan kayaknya. Latihan coy, sama mau ke Big Bang lah. Masa ke Eropa nggak ke Big Bang?
Because Weibo, even against Gen G, we had an amazing stat. They were the first team all year to be ahead of Gen G top, mid, and bot.
Ini kan lokasi di Berlin, grand finalnya di mana?
Berlin, Paris, London kan? Kalau nggak salah tuh
Masih terakhir di London.
berarti.
Get out of the early game with an even map state.
Well, let's get to game then. Casters, over to you for the last game of the day, Weibo versus G2.
Sekarang di Berlin namanya itu apa nih? Studio KNL. Habis itu nanti pindah ke Paris.
Especially when you think about the history of these two teams, and also when you think about the history of the mid laners, right?
Di Paris terus pindah ke London di Paris nanti. Bentar. Di Berlin ini ternyata di ini aja, di Riot Games Arena aja. Di Paris nanti Adidas Arena. Di London nanti O2 Arena.
The thing is, right, I think you could make the argument that on paper, G2 could be considered favorites in this matchup. However,
kayaknya ini emang studio LEC.
Let's go Wibu.
team on the planet.
Yes, they are.
Domestically, they were a team that should not
Let's
have made
go
it to the
Wibu.
finals.
And yet
they did.
And last year, internationally, they were not a team that should have made it to the World Finals. And yet, they did.
Yeah, and they had a very good start in their game versus Gen G, and then they ended up getting outplayed. And then they had a bad start versus TL, where they were able to come back. And it's like,
Kalian ada info orang Riot nggak guys? Gue mau masukin Kurohiko top up ke sponsor World cuy. Info kan dong. Tendernya cuy.
weird. And I was like, okay, cool. Glad we're on the same page. They are a difficult team to predict, so I don't know what way.
O2 Arena gede tuh.
Is that Tarzan is an incredible jungler, and if you give him the tools to carry, he will carry. So let's see what's on the ban table. Weibo targeting out.
Zaira di game lagi kan. Zaira brand.
Mau dihabisin apa ya?
That meant that if G2 wanted to go for the Yone, he would be forced onto the Lilia, and I think that
Upi Kor. Oh iya benar, kita tanya Upi dulu kali cuy ya.
the Yone is going to be banned away. So the Aurora is
Kita tanya Bang
available
Upi ya.
right now. You imagine that's going to be the final pick, ban, I should say, on the side of Weibo, and then it becomes a question of what does the first pick priority become for G2?
Damn good question. A lot of high prio picks still available. Aurora, the one you highlighted first, and I think probably the most important, but Italy.
I like that a lot. We were just talking about Tarzan. I think this is one of his best champions.
Coba kontak artis Riot yang orang Indo tuh. Siapa tuh? Oh, artis ilustratornya.
He's bad when he's off carries.
No, sure.
But you really feel it in the early game when he's on something like an Italy.
Also,
Oh anjir, kali first week.
7 win sekali loss cuy, belum ada kalah cuy ya. Belum sekali kalah cuy. Nambah dari G2 nih. 2 for 2 loss Kalista.
Kalista priority for G2. That explains the Poppy ban right from the start. Ash removed as well. G2's coming with a clear game plan that they want to play towards the bot side of the map.
Do they also want to try something like the Nico, potentially?
Tapi katanya OP Riot udah putus kontrak sama OP.
I guess is the broader question,
Iya
regardless
sih.
of what it is.
You already talked about the LPL's priority around Jin.
I don't want
Xiaohu siapa cuy?
in the
Xiaohu.
right circumstances, Jin can be one of the
Udah lama juga deh sebenarnya itu. Zaman-zaman pas Faker masih itu Prime juga Xiaohu udah main.
early pick that most teams are using him as.
I was about to say the Rumble.
This is one of the picks that he needs to be the best AD in the meta.
When you pair that up with the Rumble, we haven't seen it from Breathe so
Rumble.
far in this tournament, but they are going to lock it in for him. I think that it's such a great flexible pick, and I think that many teams have been finding success with it.
Smolder. Ayo cuy, Smolder.
Oriana is still up, by the way.
And this is something that Xiaohu's already played. This is
Kayaknya nggak akan dimainin dah Smolder.
most of MSI, if I remember correctly.
Gak tahu kalau kanan.
Thing is now, if you're G2, do you really want to play Oriana into this?
Immobile carries against Jin Rumble feels terrible.
Galio.
Wih, ada Galio. 1 win, 1 loss.
Galio was kind of the big
2 loss Galio for G2.
seen it a little bit. Hasn't looked too great. Yeah.
Kayaknya G2 pikannya tuh itu cuy, yang lossnya 1 mau dibikin 2 sama mereka semua rata.
So still some room for interpretation in terms of where this is actually going to go, but definitely can mitigate some of the.
Oh, kalau Rel sih udah banyak nih kalian. Anjir, 14-13.
So right now, really great
Topik anjir 23. 27 kali dipakai anjing. Udah 27 game ternyata.
Ya anjir.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't convinced by the Galio top. We'll see if things are different this time round. Assuming that it is for Broken Blade, he was in Europe the big innovator for new top lane picks. He was the early adopter of the Rek'Sai top. He grabbed the Zac top as well. He's always been someone to try new stuff on the top side of the map.
Real ternyata cuy, hero paling sering di-pick aja 27 game.
I think this is definitely one of his preferred champions when you look across
Habis
his
itu Jin.
Ben Kamil ngasih yang kanan.
fantastic siege composition. It's a bit old school, but like Rumble ultimate into Jin ultimate.
Itu Galio Yuki yang main cuy.
Force you off a tower, right? And if you throw in a Maokai as well, perhaps
Oh ya suh.
but it just provides so much utility and zone control around these neutral objectives.
Anjir. Cuman lawan G2 tuh Yonia so di beda.
Obviously, ult is still really good, but I think it's these two champions together that kind of amplifies both their powers so much. And if you're playing something as short range as Kalista, you really need to be able to pull the trigger and engage aggressively. But if you make a mistake against a duo like Rumble and Jin, games fall apart very quickly. Now,
apalagi mau di-ban kira-kira ya?
taken away. Obviously, Tarzan thus far has been more about supporting the rest of the team, hasn't been on carry junglers. I imagine with so much.
Harusnya Kamil. Soalnya Kamil combo Galio buat ngelok orang.
Oh iya.
Long range option to potentially. You can just keep G2 at arm's length.
But Weibo's thinking about mid bans right now. I think anyway.
Lah, fine. Ya fine juga bisa.
G2 may consider the Vine. Now they have to raise questions around, do they want to get rid of maybe Sejuani? What jungler are they even considering right now? Jungle pool is getting pinched a decent amount.
With Kalista Galio, you really
Ada yang pakai Aurora kemarin pas gue nobar cuy.
Galio can do a decent amount, but usually, opting for.
Kemarin apa nobar yang satu lagi ya?
Something like a Viego, maybe.
Ada sih sebelum-sebelumnya juga, cuman kalau yang mau yang paling bagus yang kemarin Genji lawan HLA itu Auroranya enak lihatnya.
But once Weibo decided to do it, they've removed one of the comfort picks for Xiaohu in mid lane. You imagine mid lane's going to be saved for last, so we should see a jungler come through now. Sejuani is a possibility. Maybe even the Ivern. Perhaps it's a little bit too much on the. We talked about the Maokai earlier. There's going to be the lock-in. You are now kind of looking at maybe an AD mid laner. If they go for AP, it's a lot of magic damage on the side of Weibo.
Ini Galio mau di flex nggak sih?
But like, I guess it's going to be a Tristana.
I think it has to be a Galio top at this point.
Oh.
This would be bold.
That would be interesting. Drawing some inspiration from
the VCS,
Gam, perhaps.
This is a champion that can be disruptive.
Oriana bener. Galio baru. Nocturne. Wah anjir.
Nocturne is out.
Now we've been seeing.
Kalau dikomboin tuh sama Oriana, bolanya ditaruh Nocturne.
Nah, Nocturne juga mau dua loss nih. Coba kita lihat Oriana berapa loss cuy. Oriana udah loss 3.
You can see how powerful the engaged tools really are. Meanwhile, so for those that don't understand, G2 have this great kind of wombo combo.
Teorinya mah Nocturne ulti, bolanya dikasih Nocturne, Nocturne dateng, Ori ulti, terus itu Galio ultiin.
Team fighting strengths. We already talked about the zone control that Rumble and Jin together provide, but when you throw in a Maokai to boot, like around objectives, it becomes very difficult to approach or even start one.
Galio baron tapi di sini bagus buat lawan Rumble.
Can occupy. Tristana and Jin going to be offering a lot of consistent DPS in the later game fights, and even after the nerfs.
Makanya emang kelihatan di flex tadi itu Galio.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage on the side of Weibo, that's for sure. We'll see if G2 can weather the storm and how this game is going to play out, because we've had mixed performances from Weibo. One really good early game.
G2 ada hero Galio yang belum pernah dipakai cuy.
Around their early game all, well, pretty much all year as they focused on improving.
Gitu itu sekali masuk sih. Gila. Kalau dapet angle itu udah pasti rata musuhnya.
It can be very difficult to come back against a composition like Weibo's when they have an advantage, when they can leverage that to get set up first. The sheer range. Even if Nocturne can turn out the lights, it doesn't always.
Let's go G2.
Stop the kills from coming through.
Let's go G2. Let's go Weibo.
Fans as well. Love to see it.
Let's go Weibo.
I'm starting to feel the tension build. Wonder if this is how Jat and Raz fell in our previous game. Because as you said, Weibo can be a bit of an unknown quantity, but frankly, I really like what they put together in terms of the draft.
Ya Galio udah 3 kali dipakai. Apa tadi yang 1 kali dipakai ya?
Really be such a fantastic powerhouse of a pick. We saw it in the Jackie Love game when he could get all those static shift procs, and Weibo have the recipe here to make that happen again.
But I also think the reason why this matchup is tense for EU fans specifically is that as the first seed from the LEC, as someone who internationally is expected to make it far, against the 4th seed from the LPL, on paper, this should be a favored matchup for G2.
Yeah.
If they want to stick by their convictions that they are able to contest the World Championship, right? Like, this is a matchup that they should be winning, which is why I think there's a lot on the line for the side of G2. For Weibo, of course, a roster where their expectations have been very low. Yeah. From the outside in, it's difficult to gauge how strong this Weibo is, and the fact that they've continued to surprise. Last year's World Championship, this year in terms of their LPL playoff run, they're a team that's able to find that magic, and I think a lot of it comes off the back of Tarzan's consistency in terms of his early game impact, and then Light. This man is incredibly consistent in terms of his damage output, his laning phase, and G2 are putting a lot of emphasis in the early game on their bot lane 2 versus 2.
Definitely are. I want to draw attention briefly to the mid lane just because there is so much history here. And of course, favoring Xiaohu. It's important to note a lot of these games happened in the Fnatic era when LEC as a whole, or EU LCS at the time, weren't able to compete. When Xiaohu was really dominating with RNG across the board, it was Perks really who had the better record against Xiaohu. Now we'll have to see if this is a new chapter for this particular rivalry. As you said, bot lane early at least. Maybe a big center of attention.
Alisa nggak ada lethal tempo, nggak enak banget ya liatnya.
Both AD carries relatively healthy. Level 2 going to be coming through soon. Oh, Xiaohu gets a nice trade onto Caps there. Orianna does have the ability to consistently hit her opponent thanks to her Clockwork Wind-Up passive. But Tristana is still Tristana. So as long as she keeps hitting you in the face, she's going to do a lot of damage. On the top side of the map, we can see the Galio getting a bit of push in the 1v1 matchup. Broken Blades going for the ammo shot, providing him those extra bit of resistances. There's that magic shield from his W.
Galio ayam ya? Warna pink aja.
Galio ayam pakai chroma.
Nice banget skill 3-nya.
Anjir, ngagetin itu skill 3. Jago.
Dibalikin kan ya arah skill 3-nya ya?
Dibalikin jadinya langsung terbang aja. Anjir.
Broken Blood. Nama Broken Blood. Bisa main Riven gak tuh?
Dulu dia one trick Riven, makanya namanya gitu.
Oh, pantas aja. Box ya. Apa box.
Kurang lebih.
I mean, who would expect that?
I just always love the E backwards because you can obviously you can hit it on the wind up if you go backwards.
But also there was this change when Galio got this like mini rework where the passive just comes up a lot more often now, and I think the Breed just wasn't kind of expecting that.
Bang, WR kok beda sekarang? Karena yang tetap sama adalah kamu.
No flash ended up being bird. And yeah, small lead, but magic resistance already being bought by Broken Blade.
Definitely, the early itemization going to favor him a lot.
Aduh, ngapain Hansama? Oke, keluar flash nggak ngaruh deh. Is apalah dia, Cok?
Maybe not ideal, but didn't want to wait for Light to reload.
Dia itu sih pengen itu biar minionnya nggak di freeze, cuman sendirian anjir.
Hansama.
Good opportunity recognition.
Hansama. S stand for suck.
Broken was doing fine in the top lane 1v1 for the early game, and G2's bot lane was winning initially, but they overstayed.
3 flash ward.
And it cost them. Part of the reason why that early game was so rough against Hanwha Life.
Mungkin dia pengen buang 3 flash sih.
Biar nggak di freeze itu tadi creepnya. Cuman ya udah sih dapet 3 flash. Wave-nya nggak jelek juga, masih oke.
Enak juga nih Galio gue liat nih dia nih.
Oh
ya, Rumble Magic ya?
Iya, Rumble Magic. Makanya bagus itu buat lawan. Beh, gak ngurang tuh.
Tuh anjir, lihat tuh darah tuh setengah coy, satu klik combo.
Merc Treads, Hollow Radiance, you're gonna have wave clear, and I don't know if he can win the 2v1, but he can certainly live for quite a long time.
Sure.
Iya.
Juga mau kayaknya juga kan apa ya sumber damage di geng gak akan mati gitu Galio.
We kind of take stock of the map. I wonder if we'll see some resets come through soon. The grubs are going to be up in 30 seconds. TP's committed from
Double
both solo
TPs.
laners.
At the same time,
No rotation just yet from Hans Sama.
keep in mind, Broken Blade could have probably
Tapi
walked
XP-nya sama anjiran sama, beda gua 100 lah.
didn't necessarily need to immediately TP, but wants to have that pride.
Soalnya itu tadi sih, pas dia nyampe minin wave-nya juga baru pas nyampe aja.
Reset the wave.
Nggak rugi makanya tadi.
Early itemization, just some mercs to make it through the laning phase. Again, pretty high value. Yike gonna be first on the grubs, but Weibo gonna be playing around the bottom side instead. Have a lot of really good scaling tools, so setting themselves up for a potential Drake win condition does make sense. Conceding grubs early is always a bit of a risk. Likely means they will have to contest the second spawn, but for now, just the trade of objectives.
Wisely done by Weibo. I think they recognize that trying to fight on the top side probably isn't the smartest choice for them. Instead, they'll just play around the fact that there's a wave pushing on the bot side of the map. Easy trade of objectives. The Rumble can just drop the ulti into the top lane, which is exactly what Breathe is going to do. You can see that skill on cooldown. Catch that top wave, go back to base. Not much the Broken Blade can do about it. Meanwhile, G2's bot lane has to play on the weak side. They'll catch the wave being pushed in. And ultimately, just a trade of objectives. So relatively slow early game. Impressive stuff from Broken Blades. And a nice punish from Weibo to catch out Hans Sama. Summoners slowly coming off cooldown. And we're kind of setting our sights on the next grub spawn in about 3.5 minutes as Nocturne now ticking over to 6. Tarzan looking to do the same in the near future.
Should be a big fight. We'll see who can get favorable setup. Both supports also racing to get level 6 as quickly as they can.
Tapi nggak ada efeknya aja skin Galio ya.
Emang nggak ada itu sih murah.
Arms race for support level 6 this year. Can't contest it on first grubs, but second grubs should be able to have it reliably.
Yang di pit baron apa tuh Kur? Itu namanya Void Groups.
Just a very, very tense game.
Terangga
It's
Void.
interesting because I think we expected kind of today to be this all-out bloodbath, but a lot of our games have been
Pincang
very
tuh di
reserved
sana.
for both teams.
Except game 1.
Except for game 1. Game 1 not reserved. Game 1 needed to be reserved.
Yes. But it was not.
It was not.
Yeah.
I was looking for a bit of a trade onto Zhao, who crisp there to cover. Similar position for Mickey. Both supports are a little outside of XP range. Mickey gonna clear out that ward.
A lot of emphasis on topside control here. Waves crashing
Cuma
in.
skin cosplay. Iya.
Looking to set up some control wards for future plays,
Cosplay
future
ayam.
objectives. Keep eyes on Yike, obviously post level 6.
Dia nggak ada efek tapi suaranya semua.
Tapi suaranya
berubah
ada
jadi
ya?
ayam. Iya suaranya ada, berubah semua.
Punish side laners to punish anyone for overstepping on waves.
Mickey in a good position, but gonna be spotted out by Crisp. Both supports should aim to try and get their level 6 ASAP. And the next scrub spawn is in 2 minutes time. Yike continues to power farm through his jungle. Tarzan a little bit behind on the clear, as you'd kind of expect. Yike hasn't really looked for any ganks as of yet. He does have some setup on the bot side of the map, but with all their summoners available, it may be a little bit tricky. I think his first use of the
Ya di
ultimate
Wild
is
Rift ada
likely to
cuy.
come off the back of
Gue nggak beli sih, cuman gue pernah dengar suara ayam.
We're really gearing up for a big fist fight around the next objective. All of these summoner spells coming back up, neither side. Going for too many aggressive moves. You can see G2 kind of
Medarda itu berarti ini eksklusif di Wild Rift dulu kayaknya.
Harusnya mah waktu itu doang.
and it's the looming threat of Tarzan appearing in their lane for the side of G2 is just always
Bisa
there without that
Medarda.
information.
He's going to come through from Mickey, who is now finally level 6. Crisp actually still short on that experience. Merc Tread's now secured for Mickey, along with the control wards. Tiamat picked up as well. Perhaps the Phage, I missed which one came first. But Stride Breaker on its way for Yike, regardless. Here are the grubs now, 55 seconds. We've been talking a lot about them because I'm curious as to whether or not you imagine that G2 is going to have a priority on them, and the question is Weibo going to look to try and fight, given that there's still a minute discrepancy between the Dragon and the Grubs, or instead will they concede it, perhaps look for some pressure on the bot side of the map?
Sup? Yeah.
Pressure. I think maybe hoping to contest Xiao at least a little bit on his mid push here to ensure that they do have first access to the grubs. And when we talk about this G2 composition, it's not that they necessarily have the strongest side laners in the world.
Orang LoL sama WR dirilis tuh Medardah. Di PC juga rilis.
Seinget gue enggak tahu juga ya tapi.
Notice that the bot lane of Weibo has made their way up, so it looks like they're eager to contest. Hansama making a beeline towards there now. Cleared out that wave.
Caps. He's prioritized first item completion. He has no boots. He just rushed that Ludens, wanting to be more powerful for the fight.
Nice spike to have for sure.
Downside of double 80 carries, you have no item spikes.
Remember, Broken Blade doesn't actually have to rotate down if he doesn't want to. He can just keep the Rumble pushed.
Devnya ngomong rilisnya bareng kok.
Oh,
kira bakal off ini.
Weibo now try to find space. Remember the amount of zone control they have though. Maokai ultimate, Rumble ultimate, Jin ulti.
It might be a situation where G2 just take the 4th grub and walk away.
Gue terakhir soalnya nontonin yang update PC cuman itu doang aja, ada Gragas KDA doang yang penting.
Rumble's too far away, that's why.
Might get the 4th grub buff.
You're completely right. Weibo have just sat and watched.
And this is the problem, is they're waiting for that window of opportunity to leverage.
6 void group coy.
But G2 just doing.
Weibo jalan semua tapi gak dapat apa-apa anjir.
Just force and start the fight, and as a result, they show up to watch another team get a 6 grub buff.
Now, G2 have said, we're quite happy to concede the next dragon, you can have it, because now we've got 6 grubs, and Kalista can be left alone in top lane. Breathe will have the ultimate available to clear out this wave. I think the idea from G2 is to maybe funnel some plates into Hansama, but I don't think this plan is going to pay off just because of the Rumble ulti.
Difficult. Broken Blade, obviously when you're playing out on a side lane.
Oh, the dive. Smart play from G2, but again, here's the Rumble ulti that we were just talking about.
Bersih langsung anjing.
I think it's important to stress, G2 playing incredibly well around the 2nd grub spawn. Caps sacrificing himself in terms of boots, which would have helped the lane a lot to prioritize that first major.
Gak masalah tapi udah grabsnya 3 tuh. Grabsnya 6 ya. Hilang tuh tapi itu turret.
They're really committed for this, and I think it's a good gold injection. They're sharing it across the room. I'm a little surprised that they would give some of that gold to Mickey. But that's first tower. That's a lot of gold.
This is a very big gold lead. Weibo are setting themselves up for a Cloud Soul kind of win condition or a way to force a 5v5. But G2 are very rapidly accumulating a pretty significant lead.
Notice that they've put Xiaohu into Broken Blade with the idea being, ha, you've built all this magic resistance and we have an AD mid laner. That means that our Tristana can actually do damage to you. And then Broken Blade has said, okay, I'm happy to play this matchup, but that does mean that your Rumble is now at risk of being dived. And so, what could Breed do there? He threw the ultimate down, the idea was good, but then the next wave spawned, he's zoned away from the wave. Look, he's cautious to even approach this, because as you highlighted earlier, Nocturne, side lanes, scary, real scary, because if you overstep, the ability to collapse is very quick.
Right now, the good news is it's only rank 1 of ultimate, and mid lane tower is still standing. When that one falls, it's so easy for G2 to get access to Weibo's jungle. But this is a situation where G2 are leveraging the power of their composition.
Wah.
Waduh.
Aduh,
kena ulti ini lagi.
Wah, muncul.
G2, do they want this fight? They already absorbed the engage. They got what they came for in the bottom lane. No, they're not going to take the 5v5. They just go right back to the tower, knowing Weibo doesn't have a wave to play.
Balik aja cuy.
Udah menang sih gitu kan, gitu doang. Itu turret tiba hancur juga soalnya.
But Breathe, his ulti is going to be up available soon. Light and Crisp also use their engages. Smart TP from Caps onto the tier 2.
Dimakroin gini.
Oh, wih, di-flashin. Gak kena. Gak kena anjir.
The criticism coming in was, can G2 play the early game well? I can say with confidence they're playing the early game well. They're leveraging the strength of the early grubs that they set up for cleanly. They're playing around the fact that Hansama is as strong as he is, and they secure top tower, funnel that gold into Hansama, and rotate towards bot, leverage the push they have to unlock that tower as well. And on top of that, Caps should have been caught, doesn't burn the flash.
Oh, WBG sengaja kalah nih cuy, mulu lawan Faker nih.
Now they can have Hans and Mickey come mid with Caps to start sieging onto this final outer tower.
Enggak lah, kan Faker menang tadi.
Oh iya, Faker tadi menang.
It's very likely that Weibo cannot contest this Herald, which means that G2 are very likely to break.
Mau lawan BLG berarti.
They have so much pressure.
Revenge berarti.
They know he has no TP. They know Breathe has no TP. So they're going to at least get a massive chunk here. They're going to stick around.
They're committing to this tower.
Dapat anjir towernya, Cok.
Udah jebol 3 tower. Tier 1.
15 minutes in, and the best they can get is a
Ini satu aja tryhard nih. Udah segitu gede wave tuh.
Available as well. That top wave in an awkward spot, someone has to go and catch it.
Meskipun gak ada perang, ini gak ngantuk, ini lebih banyak rotasi ya.
quite some time.
Tadi nggak ngapa-ngapain anjing.
Playing the
Malas
map
banget.
so much better than
We
Weibo
might even
is.
have to go back to one of those the first T1 series at MSI to find something like this.
I mean, for international viewers, right? Like Dregs and I have.
Thank you, Mastercard.
No, you guys don't understand. They just lose and then come back because their macro's good. They just die randomly early game and then they come back. And they're really good at coming back.
Yeah, their summer was not great. Their summer was not great at all. And like the biggest question coming into this World Championship was, can they?
Gol udah jauh nih cuy, nah 700
A
nih.
game like this is a surprise, but a welcome one.
And I mean, Mickey talked about it.
I think his quote was, "If I just don't int, we would have won against each other."
I mean, that could be one of many interviews. But, you know, talked a lot about the team ramping up and feeling like the HLE game was winnable despite a rough early game, and that giving the team confidence and that they're building towards that final form. But, of course, pro players are always going to say that.
True.
You know what I mean? They're always going to be like, yeah, we got it. We're one step away. To see it come to fruition. Impressive stuff thus far. When we look at Weibo on the opposite side, however, Leandri's is completed. Kraken is completed. You've got a Shiv. There are tools now to fight on at least more even footing with G2. As long as they don't finish those second item spikes, you have a reasonable angle to contest them.
And don't forget, Weibo found themselves behind against Team Liquid. Team Liquid made a couple fumbles, and then Weibo were able to fight their way back in.
Speaking of,
Waduh, menang dong G2 itu fight-nya anjir.
Keluar,
Mereka belum
iya,
siap,
ini sih.
Cok.
Wah. Oh, dapat kayak itu Tarzan.
Oh, anjir, ultinya Rumble. Wah, anjir di comebackin Rumble dong.
Bisa.
Aduh, nafsu banget dua orang ke situ, Cok.
Gara-gara kepisah.
Nggak mati anjir yang sama. Siapa? Oh, Oriana tadi mati ya. Waduh. Oh, masih sing. Aduh, kontol. Tolol. Tolol banget anjir.
Tapi kayaknya itu dua-duanya siapapun yang kena mati sih kayaknya.
Galio kayaknya belum deh.
Harusnya mati. Galio soalnya gak ada armor.
As Mickey tries to get vision, the collapse comes in, but Crisp immediately gets collapsed on thanks to all these globals that come through.
Makanya dua-duanya ngomong kan, coba dot saja.
While Yike is turning his attention to Xiaohu with Mickey at his assistance, look at this Rumble ultimate onto Caps and Hans as we turn our attention back to live.
Just a bit of split attention there.
Langsung beda 60 gol cuy.
But Mickey not being there means they lost so much of that CC. G2 though still priority access on the objective. They've already cleared out tier 1 mid. So they will grab this Drake. They will
Oke lah, dapat Dragon.
sole option from the side of Weibo.
Yeah.
Now G2 still hold the lead, but it's a reminder of how good Weibo can be in those fights if G2 falter for even a moment.
Yeah, I mean,
Itu udah sengajain gak sih?
and Weibo immediately
Mana ada sengaja aja.
they realized, hang on, they've
Kalau mau sengaja mah lebih baik mati Galio sih.
we can punish this. A really nice ulti came through from Breathe. Like
Mereka kayaknya pede dua-duanya bisa ngedot. Cuman yang si sama tadi dia nggak tahu, dia berdiri di luar.
full level up over Hansama. We talked about him coming into this game, how he's been that consistent, reliable carry for Weibo. He's looking to do the same thing here to bring Weibo
Iya,
back.
itu gara-gara Rumble tadi sih ngeri banget anjing.
Have to play carefully.
Sakit banget Cok Rumble.
Games where he's not able to do a whole ton. A lot of people skeptical about how good the static shift can be. But if you're able to find those resets and fights, it can do so much work.
Iya, fight-nya tadi misal gitu, terus dua ngejar satu aja.
Trying to assert their dominance on the top side of the map.
Nah, kiri kalau mau nabrak masih tetap butuh real deh. Sisi Galio kan dikit. Yang apa sih yang gampang nge-close gap-nya gitu.
Not sure what the game plan is here for G2 as they overstack on the
But they
top side
see
of the map.
Yike, which is crucial because Breathe can now push as far as he wants to.
I mean, all the waves are being caught right now. Nice push in from Breathe. Broken Blade's going to head towards bot. Looks like nothing too dramatic is going to come off the back of that.
I mean, we're 40 seconds away from Baron. G2 can't really threaten at this stage, although Kalista obviously very strong on helping you secure the objective.
Iya, Oriannya kalau belitir.
It's pretty difficult for the opposition to slow that push without engaging completely.
Two items now finished for Light. Imagine that he's going to start building the big damage items next.
Hansama really wants to finish this next item.
Still a ways off it though. Finds himself still
Hey,
a full
Baron
level
spawn.
behind that of Light.
Good discipline from Weibo, waiting to see more members on the map before Chris steps too far forward. Once he sees him on the wave, he knows he can walk in, has the team to back him up.
Patient play overall, as neither team really sees an easy objective to play for. Weibo love to unlock more of these outer towers, but difficult. They can't really find many opportunities on the map. G2, though, conversely, unless they start sieging onto a tier 2, there's not much that they can really do. Herald's actually going to be dropped. They're going to send that towards the bot lane as Caps is there. Has that escape route as he has used a few times throughout the year. Xiaohu chipping away at that tower. Broken Blade, TP up, going to be soon.
Kok nggak didesin cuy?
While G2 happy to put
Nggak ada yang
Caps on
masuk
the
gitu ya?
Orion, obviously they're gonna have the same side
Takut mati kayaknya.
they were used to in their previous game with the Yone.
Bisa nggak sih kita desin sebelum dia nabrak turret kita tak keluar dulu bisa kan?
Uplane tier 1 dropping down.
Enggak, kalau bisa harus nabrak. Pas nabrak kita keluar barengan.
With Jin at least slightly ahead of the curve. Xiao can finish his second item as well. We're on pretty good footing. Start coming out on top in these 5v5s.
You can see Tarzan giving up some of his farm to help funnel Xiaohu. Not spot any vision thanks to the Scuttle Crab. Much ready to be found though. Broken Blade, the Riftmaker second, something that we often see on Gallios to give them a bit of consistent damage. Grouping once again from G2 in the mid lane. Hunt's now finishing off the Rage Blade, so Caps really the only one that hasn't been able to complete his item ahead of the Dragon fight in about a minute 20. He should still have time and has the TP available, but they're prioritizing getting gold into Han Sama. They set their sights on the mids tier 2. Not going to overstay their welcome. I think
Itu Galio item keduanya APK. Item apa tuh Nani? APK itu.
Yang satu tuh Sunfire tapi versi Magic Resist. Satu lagi Riftmaker.
So I mean, Weibo's getting into a good spot here, ready for the next fight.
Banyak anjir item kayak gitu bentuknya ada yang warna merah juga kan.
Relatively weaker to Broken Blade, but ultimately still has the Leandries, so that red carpet's going to dish out some serious damage.
Nggak tahu dah.
Ada tadi kalau nggak salah di game sebelumnya siapa yang pakai tadi?
To ensure you can just isolate those targets. It's hard for Caps to play this out. He's really the most immobile champion on this team. Luckily has the Galio ult to protect him, but if they're using it too defensively, it's going to cost them in some of the fights.
I mean, it's a tense affair. You can tell that a lot of this game is going to come down to the ensuing fights. G2 turning their attention away.
Tarzan on the side.
Oh.
Going wide. Nice side step from G2. Deadly Flourish also there. TP from Breathe.
Wow, that was a quick response. Weibo were really poised to fight there. They used Crisp's ulti. Now the Dragon becomes a much easier objective to take without one of the engaged tools available. Breathe forced to catch the bot.
Oh, yang merah tuh ini Malignance.
Top wave's not in a bad spot for G2 either. Weibo behind on the play. They can maybe try to rush Baron, but this would be incredibly greedy. They're going to start it though, realizing they don't really have any reach to stop G2 from taking the Drake.
But it's too ambitious.
Ini baru lebih ada aksi.
She's more than
Ace 2 stack Dragon coy.
this objective, especially with the Rend, and that means that the Orianna can be in a position to zone the enemy away.
G2
Crisp
have to stay composed here.
Wus anjir dapet sama dia.
Digas gitu.
Galio mana?
Wah,
aduh Galio di bawah anjing.
Baron dong.
Galionya nge-push bawah anjir.
They find an angle behind Caps, not giving him an opportunity to flash away. They're not even going to try and steal away the Baron.
Tapi pada dapet sih turret-turret itu jadi
Lumayan sih
Baron
dapet turret bawahnya, mid juga dapet.
They'll at least knock down a tier 2. They'll keep the gold close.
Ajar nggak sih itu? Gak ada vision sih dia. Ada kok hashtag sama Cemtek.
Just a great collapse, all in all. You'll see the chain CC that comes down onto Caps, and there's so little they can do. That angle from Tarzan on the left, Chris looks like that he's overstaying. He connects onto Yike, but this just gives him the ability to get on top of Caps. And look at that chain CC. Root into connect from the Jin.
Disini
They followed up with a pick onto Mickey, who doesn't bother flashing away, realizing there's little that he can do to get away. And that converts into a Baron for Weibo. Because of the 2 towers secured by G2, I believe they actually still hold on to the gold lead for now. But this is going to be much easier with 2 outer towers still available. There's a lot of standing gold. Oh, I say that 1 tower did drop in the top lane. Standing gold available for Weibo to grab at least in the mid lane.
Important to even things up. Again, 80 carry, 3rd item spike's going to feel very good for Weibo. For G2, you're in a situation where they really set that play up better around the Drake, but Weibo really recognized that window of opportunity to force G2 to come up to them, to threaten the Baron. and then were able to find that engage. Yike maybe a little bit late on the paranoia, you could say. Didn't really have too much effect on the fight. And now we're in a much more even game state, but with Weibo,
Turret atas coy.
minute 40 seconds, they
Onto the
control
top
the map.
I mean, this is the thing. It's a lot harder for G2 to level.
Ush. Aduh, stasis.
Get the Seekers out. Weibo, are they in a position to follow?
Flash.
Ulti from Mickey not going to connect, but they get flash out of breathe. Meanwhile,
Turret
Shadow
atasnya dapat.
someone's eventually going to need to respond.
Aduh, dapat satu lagi kah turretnya anjing?
Seems like they want to force the fight. Your eyes on Yike.
Oh enggak. Di sananya mau ikutan join.
Where's the ulti going to go? They need to isolate a carry.
Galio, ready, Galio.
Lah.
Aduh, posisi fight-nya itu nggak enak banget anjing. Tapi itu
Masih
nggak.
menang, tapi ini kayaknya masih menang.
Iya, ini menang sih. MM-nya. Anjing dikejar-kejar Jin. Weh, Jin mana nih? Ada ganggu banget, ada penonton segala bangsat. Astagfirullah. Astagfirullah, nggak ada yang kena. Oh, kena tuh. Oh, nice.
Gak kena lagi. Anjir.
Oh, nice. Wih. Oh, nice. Wah, turret bawang. Turret bawang minionnya menang gak nih? Oh, nggak ada minion yang bagus sih, mid dong. Objektif nggak ada.
Setting up the whole fight. You'll notice here at the start, G2 turn their attention onto Breathe, isolated as Mickey becomes the target. Zhao, who's not in a good position to follow up, and the near sight from the Nocturne ultimate makes it hard for him to follow. The Galio ultimate coming through, and then Hansam ultimate, and this flash torn into knockup. It's the two crucial carries. It buys enough time for G2 to reposition. Zhao and Light's forced to retreat, and then the fight gets split up. Broken Blade and Caps turn their attention to the top side.
Itu tuh. Jinnya. Satu peluru itu jing.
If it weren't for the tower, but then he's forced to
Itu Yike kena tadi tuh, sebar darahnya.
Zhao who with the TP
Terus tinggal skill 1 mati aja.
Ini udah pada sekarat takut semua. Takut di skill 1 pukul hilang semua.
cleans up the fight. It's too much damage, and it's G2 that walk away with an ace.
Incredible fight from both sides. Light was one auto away from killing 3 members of G2. All it would have taken is one more static proc, and he would have been able to clean up the rest. Incredibly close fight. They have to be careful with the Jin in the future. He's only getting stronger. You see 4K damage. Hansama able to auto attack so consistently, manages to outmatch him. But this is a game of inches, centimeters. It's so damn close.
I mean, but regardless, like Broken Blade is the MVP of this game. This man is having
Solo kill
an incredible performance. Weibo
Bikin stasis tuh
really
ini
found a
Galio.
reliable way to deal with him yet. It's so difficult though with the Nocturne ultimate and then the Galio can come and you just can't see it coming. It's so difficult to navigate your way through those fights. Weibo kind of need to be the ones to initiate.
And crucially, Light is flashless. He's so vulnerable to that combo in the next fight. Breathe flashless as well. Hasn't got enough money to complete the
Halo. Aduh, nggak ada follow up-nya, mati itu mah.
Wah, di cancel.
Ajir. Oh, masih datang follow up cuy. Nggak bisa.
Nggak bisa nggak sih, kejauhan.
I mean, they're doing a good job of keeping Jadwal on the side lane.
Bisa kan nih Dragon? Ya bisa sih.
Bisa. Musuh semua ulti udah dipakai.
Wih, 3 stack Dragon. Ini movement speed kan ya?
Iya.
He has a 2-level advantage over Caps, and he is at 3 fully completed.
Enak
Tapi
sih buat Oriana
movement speednya keluar dari battle kah?
Kalau yang pasif iya auto combat. Kalau yang soul habis lu ulti ada movement speed burst. Kayak home guard. Nih buat Nocturne Galio sama Ori sih ngeri ya.
Mantap ya.
I mean, this isn't going to be an easy road. G2 won the last fight. You can see how Zhao still has the tools to make this game complicated.
Baru muji Broken Blade. Iya nih, habis dipuji langsung gitu.
Games in their favor.
Cuman dia buying time banyak sih udah. Ngabisin ulti semua orang juga.
On both sides.
I mean, Tristana's also got a lot of range, the reset potential here, but it looks like G2 want to try and find a fight, want to try and find a pick of their own. They spot out Tarzan.
Oh, kena root.
How many resources can they afford to burn to kill this jungle? It looks like they're willing to...
Oh, nice banget anjir. Gue bahkan bingung tadi itu apaan terbang, ternyata ada Galio aja.
G2 want to keep going. They know they can take the Baron 8 seconds. Jungler dead, they should just be able to grab it, but Weibo not dropping anybody else, refusing to
Ulti Rambo udah gak ada, paksa Baron
which is
kan.
such a valuable tool. Light gets sent back to base. They have a little bit of vision thanks to the Scuttle Crab, but Tarzan
Bentar, Galio masih ada ulti, terus gimana cara ke situ tadi anjing?
with the rend
Oh,
available,
teleport.
gonna try their best to fight their way back in.
Nggak tahu gue nggak perhatiin.
approaching. Light standing back 8 seconds till the curtain call. This should just be G2's Baron. They recognize they have no
Aduh,
access.
dapat Baron. Ini mah kalah WBG anjing, what the fuck, bro?
Pick onto Tarzan, recognizing that window of
Wah, sengaja nih WBG nggak pengen ketemu T1 ini
I
cuy.
like the idea there from Yike as well. Groups up with Broken Blade, immediately turn their attention onto Light, trusting the other
Tapi
members.
kok kayak jago ya WBG, ini aja itu ya anjir.
Emang,
Almost got Light as well.
dia di Eropa paling jauh sendiri ya.
Just like that, Baron secured for G2. They need to reset though, shouldn't overstay.
Kayak kemarin aja G2 main-main aja lawan Fnatic masih menang aja.
For Weibo to navigate. Functionally, if they're the ones to initiate, the layering of their ultimates can be massive, especially onto a low mobility carry like this Orianna. They can really limit the movement of the Kaiser as well. Unfortunately, they haven't really been given many opportunities to set that one up outside of the pick.
Dir, network ya coy.
The fights have been set on G2's terms. There was a situation in the bot lane
Ini
where
win
G2
probability.
and overforced for the fight in which Weibo could turn things around. But whenever it's G2 to initiate with the Nocturne ultimate, Weibo just, it's so difficult for them to fight their way back.
And with G2 having the Baron empowering their push, allowing them to set up this vision first, the opportunity for Weibo to start those long-range engages just really isn't there right now. Minute 45.
Look at Tristana once
Left
again
on the
though in
Baron.
the mid lane.
Gitu deh.
Sees that he has an angle. Hard for anyone really to match him. Broken Blade a threat.
Udah.
Ulti there. Tarzan
Aduh.
breathes an ultimate as well.
Oh,
A
aman.
lot of resources burned to try and
Di
stop
DB.
Blok sama spell shield Nocturne.
have to concede this inhibitor.
Ah, spell apa yang ini?
Nocturne punya spell shield kayak Sivir.
Oh.
Mid lane as well. Broken Blade keeping
Cuman kalau Sivir kan nambah mana, kalau Nocturne jadi nambah attack speed.
Walking through that choke is such a risky proposition. Tarzan not having ult though is big. Weibo, I think conceding their ultimate ability just a little bit too early. Now gonna have to give
Oh,
more.
kepaksa ulti. Oh.
Flashes on all the carries. Cleanse down for Hans.
The 6 grubs doing so much work as well.
G2 continues.
Ini sih kalah WBG ini mah cok. Gimana ya?
Broken Blade going in.
Oh, nge-flash.
Pushing forward. Broken Blade getting lower and lower. Dash through.
Udah cuan.
Waduh.
Miki pasti
Mati aja
Miki pasti.
Vijay itu
Oh
mah.
enggak anjir.
Oh enggak, ditarik sama ininya.
Oh.
Aman sama.
Oke. Aman. Oh.
Anjir nafsu banget tuh.
Greedy
Oh,
aja
kena
itu.
mati tuh.
Wah, hell.
Itu apa nih
Masih
hijau tadi
jualan.
tuh? Heal kah itu?
Void Staff ada yang kalau habis ngebunuh jadi nge-heal.
Void
Kayak
Staff?
apa ya? Iya, Void Staff.
Iya.
Burnt on the side of G2, but they get 2 inhibitors.
Cuman penetnya nggak segede gitu.
But maybe they don't care.
Jadi penetnya dikorbanin buat kayak pasif nge-heal sama cooldown.
Maybe they're setting their sights on the top lane.
Breathe does now have the Zhonya's, but he has no flash. Xiaohu has no flash.
Yang DC Caps tuh, yang gambar bunga ya.
Play out this fight. Xiaohu, you can understand why he went for it. The rocket jump resets, the static reset.
Bukan yang keluar dari musuh tadi anjir.
Iya, yang
Siapa
keluar dari musuh
tadi?
itu.
Oh.
Jadi kalau dia dapet assist atau nggak dia nge-kill, musuhnya tuh mati jadi buat nge-heal.
Oh gitu.
Mayat itu jadi kayak area nge-kill gitu.
In their position, set up to close this one out clean.
And Jahu's still dead. If nothing else, they'll set up for this last inhibitor tower. The grubs once again doing work. Tarzan trying to be off on the flank, has the ulti available. They're gonna go.
Ayo, apakah akan dibikin momen lagi sama ini? Wah, kena semua nih anjing.
Wah, anjir.
Galio tebel banget anjing.
Cuman nggak dapet mukul sih itu. Kan sama susah mukulnya.
Guys, let's go Xiaohu.
Oke. Wow! Ball delivery-nya akhirnya kena.
Can they clean the fight? A 3v3 now.
Masih bisa menang sih ini kalau dilanjutin sama Han sama. Kabur kan.
Look at the base, it's falling apart for Weibo. It's a 2 for 2.
Dapet ini
Udah
atas.
setengah darah. Iya, ini dapat sih.
Available to him. He's gonna TP back to top lane.
They want to close it. 36 seconds on light, 28 on crisp. Breathe, no ultimate. Xiaohu has his. It would require a miracle.
Anjir menang G2 cuy.
G2 continuing to push. They've got supers. They've got so much in their favor. The 3-man core standing strong. But Xiaohu
Finalis World tahun kemarin we lost cuy.
Rogueblade with an excellent two-man taunt caps there to follow up, and now Breathe is going to be in trouble. Knockback from Jadwal was clutch.
Oh, kena ulti.
Ulti di sana.
Tarzan in trouble now.
Kompak lagi aja ininya.
Rogueblade single-handedly zoning, but G2 need to get the hell out. They bought enough time. Light is about to respawn.
Oh, itu lawan Trisana kalah tuh.
Wow, anjir, dapet
Kenapa tuh? Oh iya, kena ini skill 2-nya.
Light has the ulti. Curtains open.
Ops. Anjing kena, Cok. Banyak gaya anjing broken blade pantai.
Kalau mati pusing tuh.
Anjing untung nggak kena, Cok. Untung nggak kena Hansa sama anjing.
Pusing nih. Oh.
Wah, ini bisa kena ini nih.
Dikaiting enggak menang.
Oh, mantap, coy.
Jago aja, rapi gitu.
Wih, full senyum cuy katanya. This is our year, guys katanya.
Final combo being pulled off by Yike and Caps. Hansama doesn't hesitate to flash in and follow up on the damage dealt. G2 needed to make a statement at this World Championship, and they will take down the LPL 4th seed.
Oh, nama timnya tuh Weibo Gaming Tap anjir. Gede itu endorse tap-tapnya. Investor ternyata cuy.
Perfectly close, but not close enough. I loved it.
What a good day.
Yeah.
They just gave us a good show too.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Except for the 4 teams that lost, but
everybody wins.
Everyone
somehow.
wins.
I mean, think about it. We got the T1 upset because everyone loves seeing Faker and T1 go as deep as possible.
Ini siapa yang bakal diwawancara nih cuy?
NA happy.
Hansam, kayak si Broken Blade sih.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the trifecta.
That's a thumbs up.
Iya, bisa jadi.
Reassuring win, I feel.
Galio.
Yeah.
Especially against Weibo.
It got close, of course, just to make it entertaining. And they can't.
Lawan siapa G2 next? Belum tahu sih. Pokoknya yang skornya 2-1.
Really fun.
T1
Weibo put up a fight, of course. The Baron
Guess who
area
wants to
pick.
be on the winner's couch now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just waiting for this.
You're waiting.
It's fine, but sorry, interrupted you. You had a really interesting
No, that's a good clapback, actually. But yes, the Baron fight made it a little dicey, but it seemed like they were just caught off by the Galio. The Galio damage when Tristana was jumping in and then got hit by the Q. Also the solo kill that went through. And so why not just talk about it? I feel like we should. Player of the game just go straight to Broken Blade.
Absolutely.
Tapi we lost cuy.
It's funny because we heard about the Galio into Rumble matchup at MSI. We did not see it at all. And when we think Rumble is not a champion anymore, here, I love this solo kill. I feel like we're going to see Galio a bit more into
Pas banget lagi skill base attack lagi nyala.
And then he was just a force throughout the rest of the game, making it extremely difficult for Weibo to actually commit to any fights.
Yeah, I mean, for a while throughout the day, we were wondering who's going to be the OPPO player of the game. It makes sense that
itu musuh sih nggak tahu Rumble-nya lagi dimajuin begitu.
He was dictating a lot of the fights. The ulti to guarantee the safety for Nocturne, because he was not just yeeting himself in for with the Orianna ball. It was just a full-on committal. So I was like, how effective was the Maokai going to be? Not effective enough.
For me, this is a good win because of the way that G2 won.
Yeah.
It wasn't some like throw early game a bunch, other like even the way G2 beat Weibo last year, where they threw Baron, there was a Dragon Soul, it was a crazy game. They actually had, to me, a lot of control for most of this game.
And cleaner early game, we'll talk about this a bit later, but Shox is standing by on chat with Yike for the Verizon post-game interview.
Oh, Yike ternyata.
As the studio erupts for Yike and for G2, our Nocturne in this game. Yike, a fantastic victory, but what I can only imagine from your side must have been a nerve-wracking one because of that mid-game, because of the picks that they were able to get. So talk to me about kind
Masih ada yang main kah? Gak ada, udah kelar cuy.
difficulty in driving it home.
Yeah, so I think we had a very good comp this game. I think we had like Nocturne, Orianna, Rel, Galio, we had like a really big wombo combo, and we were trying to do it a lot this game. But
ini orang Eropa kah? Gak kelihatan kayak orang Eropa.
Find opportunities.
Eropa.
That was like
Gak ada importan gitu sih.
we got all of the objectives after the 2 dragons they got, and then it was just.
Ya mungkin keturunan silang gitu, cuman nggak tahu.
Yeah, I wasn't actually sure what was I wasn't actually sure what was going on because your early game was so clean. You weren't overstepping. You were going for the macro. Talk to me about that kind of specific working point going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to make sure that we have a good early game plan, and I think this game was pretty good. I think we wanted to play for the grubs. We got a lot of towers as well. They got dragons, but I think that's fine. I think it's a fine trade, and I think we just got so ahead, and then it was just easy for us to play, and I think we just made some mistakes after, but that happens.
Yeah, it
Iwan
happens
udah tadi.
indeed. It was such an important victory to move on to 2-1. I was speaking to your father yesterday, who's of course here to support you as he has been with the rest of your family.
Mana ayahnya?
And
Oh ini.
it was before your first game, and I asked him, "Are you okay?"
Datang
Masih
semua
muda aja.
keluarganya.
I'm not nervous, but my son's a little nervous. So tell me about kind of coming into this tournament, the very close game versus HLE, and having to keep your
Bisa
own
lihat nggak ya
team, also
bokapnya anjir?
specifically in this
Gimana anak gue ya katanya?
Yeah, the HLE game was a very crazy game. I think we could have won that game. It was very close, and I think we were in a very hard state. But I think we were very creative. I think Caps was like very smart in the side lane, also BB. I think they made really good plays, and yeah, we did some mistakes. You know, some TPs that just failed, and I think we could have won that. So it's a bit sad, but I'm still happy with how we played. You know, I think we performed well, and we could have won that in a different day.
Okay, so now you're moving on to the best ofs to qualify, hopefully for your.
Oh, Hansama itu orang Prancis, Cok. Muka kayak muka Asia anjing.
Heartbreak for you when you did get to this point as well. So yeah, talk to the G2.
Itu dia abis glow up, soalnya dulunya mah nggak segitu ya mukanya.
We're 2-1 now, and last time in Worlds, everyone remembers what happened when we were 2-1.
Mickey sama Caps sih udah kelihatan banget Europe nih.
I don't think we're gonna have a lot of like expectations. I think we're just gonna play what we do. We're gonna play our game, and whoever we play against, I think we're gonna do our best to beat them, and I think we're gonna win, and then we're gonna qualify to Paris.
Ini game terakhir ke Kor.
Thank
Iya.
you so much, Yaik.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and it's G2 with a victory to close out the day.
Thank you so much, Shox. Welcome to Cooldown and welcome.
Oke guys, kayak kita nobarnya sampai di sini aja guys, karena semua gamenya udah kelar ya. Lanjutnya itu hari apa lagi nih ya? Besok masih ada sih. Besok yang main itu kayaknya gua nggak nonton deh. MDK lawan GAM sama PNG lawan TL. Adik-adik semua nih anjir. TL doang yang nggak ada adik ya.
Nih, BO3 juga harusnya besok tuh sih loh.
Ya besok BO3 nih.
Gitu.
Kita lanjut nobarnya paling nanti tanggal 10 cuy. Masih lama sih. Besok yang kalah pulang. Oh ya besok yang kalah pulang ya.
Iya. Yang udah dekat elimination tuh BO3 semua soalnya.
If we don't get the super snowball, we can still close out the games.
And tell me about the mentality, because I feel like when G2 is on an internet.
Coba lihat Hansama pas masih di Misfit.
The Yasuo Yone is another, right? Same thing happened in MSI. Like what happened?
Misfit.
Like for you guys, what's the mentality going into?
Anjir jadi beda gini mukanya nih.
Bang beda banget. Dia di tahun kapan nih gue lupa 2 tahun lalu gitu. Tiba-tiba jadi ganteng gitu. Lu up cepat gelo ya.
Tiba-tiba jadi artis Korea anjing.
Think about this game compared to the HLE game. What have you guys been working on? Because I run into Romain, I run into all of you backstage after the HLE game.
Oke guys, thank you semua yang sudah nonton, thank you yang sudah like, thank you yang sudah subscribe, thank you yang sudah donate, thank you yang sudah super chat, thank you semuanya. Kita ketemu lagi di video atau live berikutnya guys. Thank you guys.
What did you guys readjust?